Mr. Gwon Itae orders an iced chocolate for himself, and Raehwa finds it completely at odds with his appearance. As he hands her his business card, he asks what she expects from him. She hesitates, aware that her request might seem unusual. An ordinary woman making a significant demand from a private military company. But she needs his help. Without hesitation, she proposes marriage. His initial reaction is shock, followed by a skeptical remark about her sanity. However, she insists that she is perfectly rational and believes he is the only person reckless enough to take on the task. To make the arrangement worthwhile, she offers $2 billion, with half of the payment provided up front. All he has to do is protect her for a year. He raises a practical concern: whether they need to live together. When she responds with a question of her own, he suddenly bursts into laughter. Then, without further argument, he agrees. Raehwa is the only daughter of Daesan Construction, yet people recognize her more as the daughter of Ryu Seoryeon. Her mother, known for both her striking beauty and artistic talent, rose to fame in the Korean art scene, eventually becoming a celebrity. With many admirers vying for her attention, she ultimately chose to marry Lee Jung-won. After their marriage, she withdrew from the art world and vanished from the public eye. Years later, she resurfaced with a completely transformed artistic style, capturing global recognition. However, her resurgence was short-lived. She was suddenly found dead in her own studio, having taken her own life. The shocking incident shifted media attention to her daughter, Raehwa, who had been discovered at the scene in front of her mother. Despite the relentless media coverage and speculation, Lee Jung-won refused to speak on the matter. 10 years later, Raehwa welcomes Gwon Itae, who casually requests a glass of iced chocolate. As he waits, he questions why she is working part-time at a cafe despite having assets worth $2 billion. She explains that maintaining a regular social life is said to be beneficial for mental health. Shifting the conversation, she asks why he arrived so early, pointing out that they were supposed to meet at home. Ignoring her question, he instead brings up a different concern: whether she had sought her father's permission before getting married. She confirms that she didn't, revealing that her father is against the marriage. Acknowledging the situation as a serious issue, he remarks that it was never going to be easy to receive $2 billion without complications. Curious about her informal way of speaking, he asks why she addresses him so casually. She explains that he is a year younger than her. In response, he playfully calls her old and accuses her of doing it just to make herself seem younger. Teasing further, he asks if she would prefer that he call her darling, honey, or Nuna. She dismisses all of them and tells him to simply use her name. Pulling out a photo, he informs her that the guy in the picture has been following him since morning and asks if she recognizes him. Her body tenses when she realizes that the man is one of her father's subordinates. Before she can react further, Gwon Itae comments that it looks like he will have to protect his wife from a frightening father-in-law. She agrees, then states that she intends to do something the chairman disapproves of and expects him to protect her for a year. Without hesitation, he turns around and approaches the man who has been tailing him. Confronting him directly, he remarks that his acting is unconvincing. The man feigns ignorance, pretending not to understand, but Gwon Itae makes it clear: if he continues, he will be reported to the police. Within seconds, Gwon Itae mercilessly deals with the man, showing no restraint. Meanwhile, Raehwa watches the scene unfold, already worrying about what she will tell the cafe owner. Once he finishes, he casually remarks that the customers must have been shocked by the commotion. The man, now desperate, pulls out a weapon in an attempt to threaten him. Without hesitation, Gwon Itae responds by drawing his own, leaving the man with no choice but to surrender. As if nothing unusual happened, he then comments on feeling thirsty and requests another glass of iced chocolate. Raehwa had always known what kind of person he was, but witnessing it firsthand is beyond her expectations. She realizes that calling him a lunatic isn't enough. There are no words to fully capture his nature. At the same time, she wonders just how many glasses of iced chocolate he plans on drinking. Pushing aside her thoughts, she asks if they are heading to her house. However, he dismisses the idea, explaining that it wouldn't be safe since trouble might be waiting for them there. 20 minutes have passed since they left the cafe. Raehwa reassures herself that her father will handle the damages, but she still plans to call the owner later. Gwon Itae suggests heading to the newlyweds' house for now, and she agrees. He then brings up her part-time job situation, advising her to stop looking since this one ended so abruptly. She remains determined, insisting that she will find another one near the house. He suggests working from home instead, but she prefers to keep interacting with people. Amused, she tells him to come watch her while she works. Switching topics, he suddenly asks if she still smokes, but she never did in the first place. Before she can respond further, her phone rings. Her father is calling. Gwon Itae tells her to answer on speaker. Her father urges her to resolve the issue and return home. The sound of his voice stirs unpleasant memories, bringing back the image of a man whose presence was overwhelming, like a flower with a fragrance strong enough to cause dizziness. Her thoughts drift to her mother, who once seemed like a pure and radiant canvas. Lost in her memories, she barely notices when Gwon Itae takes her hand. Breaking out of her daze, she says they should get going, but he casually states that he doesn't want to. Ignoring him, she interrupts her father, reminding him of something he always said. When she finds someone she loves, she will understand his feelings. Now, she claims to understand. With unwavering confidence, she tells her father that she loves this man. Even the thought of being apart drives her crazy with worry, and she wants to be by his side at all times. She expresses her desire to protect him and see him every day, then apologizes for her actions. Her father, unimpressed, questions what she is doing at that moment. Before she can answer, Gwon Itae snatches the phone from her. Addressing the older man as father, he quickly corrects himself to father-in-law when he senses the man's displeasure. Chairman Lee Jung-won gets straight to the point, asking how much money would be enough to make Gwon Itae leave his daughter alone. However, Gwon Itae dismisses the offer, stating that he isn't lacking in money. He assures the chairman that there's no need to worry. He earns enough to take care of his wife. The chairman then challenges him, asking if he even knows who he is. Without hesitation, Gwon Itae states his full title: Chairman Lee Jung-won of Daesan Construction. He then casually adds that he will visit next time, as he is currently busy. Without another word, he throws Raehwa's phone, sending it crashing into the car behind them. Turning to her, he explains that the vehicle following them was sent by her father. The phone had a tracking device attached, and he destroyed it to shake them off. Shocked, she stares at him, demanding to know who he really is. With a playful smirk, he reminds her. He is her husband. To Raehwa, his words sound utterly absurd. From an outsider's perspective, their situation could easily be mistaken for a love marriage, yet she doesn't believe her decision was wrong. In the past, security firms quickly withdrew from her requests under the immense pressure from Daesan. During her search, the one person who didn't back down was Gwon Itae. Among fearless mercenaries, he stood out, bold, unpredictable, and always leaping into danger without hesitation. She had expected something extraordinary from him, but not to this extent. It becomes clear that he isn't just a reckless lunatic. There's more to him than meets the eye. As she watches him, a question lingers in her mind. Why isn't he afraid of her father? More than that, why hasn't he broken the contract yet? If he wanted to, he could walk away, and her father would compensate him generously, enough to retire from the mercenary life entirely. Curious, she voices her thoughts, and he responds with amusement. To him, being with her is far more entertaining than dealing with an old man who has long passed his prime. She questions whether he is truly willing to waste billions just for fun, wondering if he really is insane. Instead of denying it, he laughs, stating that those who know him don't speak with hesitation. They call him a crazy lunatic with absolute certainty. Suddenly, he shifts the conversation, remarking that their current client isn't someone to take lightly. Confused, she asks what he means, and he turns the question back on her. Why isn't she afraid of him? She has been acting completely unfazed this entire time. Without hesitation, she states that there are things far scarier than him. Setting that aside, he presses further, wanting to know what she is trying to achieve by rebelling in this way. Without hesitation, she gives her answer. She wants to paint. His eyes widen in surprise as he stares at her, momentarily speechless. For security reasons, Gwon Itae chooses his own apartment as their residence. To Raehwa, it doesn't matter whether the place looks like a newlywed's home or not, but the reality of it still catches her off guard. The duplex penthouse is high-priced and extravagant, far more luxurious than necessary for a temporary arrangement. She finds it excessive, considering they will only be living together for a year. More than that, she wonders if he really earns enough to afford such a place. As she continues surveying the living room, his voice interrupts her thoughts. Questioning why she is still standing there, he tells her to come in. Unable to ignore her curiosity, she asks why his home is so lavish. Instead of answering seriously, he playfully asks why she sounds jealous. Leaning in slightly, he teasingly suggests making it joint ownership. Without hesitation, she counters that if he's willing to give, he should give it all, not just share. Brushing off the exchange, she then tells him to put on some clothes, though her mind is still occupied by her suspicions. It's not just the house itself that seems questionable, but the fact that he lives in such a place at all. He notes that a lack of trust between couples is a serious issue before deciding to offer a brief explanation. He warns her to be careful because there are security cameras at the entrance and in the living room. Then he sets a firm rule. His space is on the second floor, and it's dangerous, so she should only go up if absolutely necessary. Aside from that, she is free to use any of the rooms on the first floor. With that, he heads upstairs to wash up while she takes the opportunity to explore the house. Moving through the living room and onto the balcony, her thoughts drift back to the past. Her father's words were always the same. He did everything out of love for her. For a long time, she believed him. As a daughter who faithfully followed his wishes, she tried to mold herself into the ideal family member he wanted. But the day he visited the atelier, she finally realized the truth. The only person her father ever truly loved was her mother. Now, she is ready to leave behind the labels that have defined her for so long. No longer Ryu Seoryeon's daughter, no longer Daesan Group's only daughter. From this moment on, the only title she wants to carry is Gwon Itae's spouse. As evening settles, Gwon Itae sits outside, his phone pressed to his ear as he takes a call from Choi Jung. The man on the other end casually asks what he's up to, and Gwon replies that he's working. Without hesitation, Choi Jung informs him that Schmidt is in an uproar, demanding his immediate return. Gwon finds it amusing that their boss is so worked up, but Choi Jung explains that it's because Gwon vanished without a word. Then, wanting confirmation, he asks if Gwon really left for Korea and whether the rumors are true, that he took on a request from Ryu Seoryeon's daughter. Gwon corrects him, emphasizing that her name is Lee Raehwa, before dropping a surprising detail. He agreed to marry her in exchange for 2 billion. Choi Jung reacts with disbelief, struggling to process the information. However, Gwon doesn't dwell on his reaction and instead asks for a favor. Things are more complicated than he initially thought, and something feels off about the whole situation. What started as a simple contract marriage now seems to have deeper layers. He originally assumed that Raehwa was just a rebellious daughter fighting against her stepfather, but the more he looks into it, the stranger things become. He confesses that Lee Jung-won's fixation on Raehwa goes beyond normal parental concern. It's an obsession, and he is determined to control her in ways that don't make sense. There is definitely something happening behind the scenes. Then he brings up another oddity. Raehwa claims she has never smoked. That detail may seem trivial to most, but to him it's significant because he was the one who taught her how. Choi Jung immediately picks up on the implication, asking if Gwon has known her in the past. But Gwon dismisses the idea, refusing to acknowledge any personal connection. Unsatisfied with his vague answer, Choi Jung calls him out, questioning what nonsense he's spewing. Ignoring his skepticism, Gwon shifts the conversation back to business, telling him to come to Korea and assist him. As an incentive, he offers the sapphire that Choi Jung has been after for some time. That gets a reaction. The man on the other end immediately agrees, saying he will form a team right away. Still, curiosity lingers in Choi Jung's voice as he questions Gwon's motives. Security work and a sudden marriage. None of it aligns with his usual patterns. He isn't someone who takes on jobs for money, nor does he involve himself in anything ordinary. His past missions were always in the most dangerous red zones, where the stakes were highest. So, why this? Gwon keeps his answer simple. It's interesting. Before ending the call, Choi Jung gives him a final warning. Raehwa is a well-bred, sheltered rich girl, so Gwon shouldn't harass her. But Gwon doesn't respond, his mind already elsewhere, piecing together the puzzle that is Lee Raehwa. The next morning, Raehwa continues exploring the house, her curiosity leading her to the kitchen. When she opens the freezer, she finds something completely unexpected: cigarettes. She shakes her head, convinced now more than ever that Gwon Itae is a complete lunatic. Looking around, she wonders if there are any cereals in the house. Before she can check further, Gwon Itae appears behind her, greeting her with a casual good morning. Turning to face him, she barely acknowledges the greeting, and instead questions whether he has exhibitionist tendencies. His lack of proper clothing bothers her, so she tells him to put something on. However, he insists that what he's wearing is sufficient, then half-heartedly apologizes, explaining that he's just used to walking around like this at home. Not wanting to argue over it, he changes the subject and asks what she's searching for. She tells him she's looking for food since the only things in the freezer are chocolate milk and ice cream. Instead of offering a solution, he asks if she dislikes them. She quickly realizes he's suggesting them as a meal, which only deepens her frustration. Deciding not to waste more time, she announces that she'll just buy something outside. Curious, he asks about her preferences. Without much thought, she lists her absolute favorite, kantori, then mentions a few other things she enjoys, though she feels her taste is old-fashioned. He then flips the question, asking what she dislikes, and without hesitation, she answers, flowers. Her name, Lee Raehwa, means flowers are coming. Her mother chose it, inspired by the town they came from, a place where flowers bloomed all year round. Her mother's workspace had been filled with them, both inside and outside, and their scent lingered on everything. But that place wasn't just a garden. It was where she witnessed her mother's suicide. Though the memory is hazy, her mother's last words remain vivid. Before taking her own life, she told Raehwa that they were the same, that she would end up just like her. Since that day, flowers have only reminded her of that moment, making it impossible for her to like them. Pushing the memory aside, she refocuses on the present. She tells Gwon Itae to get ready. They'll have breakfast outside and go shopping because she needs to buy a lot of things. As she turns to leave, she makes one more request. She needs him to lend her a shirt. He smirks, clearly amused, and tells her he'll only agree if she calls him honey. She freezes, staring at him in disbelief, but he reminds her that she wanted their marriage to seem real. If that's the case, they should practice in advance. She thought this arrangement would be simple. She never expected it to escalate to something as serious as a marriage registration. More importantly, she never expected to end up with someone like him. Meanwhile, Lee Jung-won sits at his desk, reviewing the information gathered on Gwon Itae. He confirms that the man is indeed a mercenary, a well-known figure in the private military company, PMC World. He isn't just successful. He has a reputation for completing impossible missions. More concerning, he isn't in his right mind. The report also states that despite numerous offers, he was rejected by both the government and private companies. Clearly, he isn't motivated by money. Even more troubling is the company he works for, Daesan. Unlike ordinary security firms, Daesan isn't one that can be swayed by financial pressure. Hearing this, Lee Jung-won frowns. He wonders who is Gwon Itae. Looking deeper into his background, he finds something even more suspicious. His identity is a complete fabrication. The name Gwon Itae doesn't exist. Director Park, standing nearby, advises him to avoid a direct confrontation. Instead, he leans in and whispers something to him. Lee Jung-won listens carefully, then nods in agreement. They'll proceed as the director suggested. After finishing their meal at the restaurant, Raehwa pays the bill. She isn't exactly short on money, but as expected, Gwon Itae's clothes are slightly big for her. They head to a clothing store, and on the way, he asks what she plans to do with all the attention she's getting. Before she can respond, a girl waves at her from a distance. He asks if it's a friend, but she clarifies that it's her cousin pretending to be close to her. The girl is Lee Se-yeon, the daughter of Lee Hak-soo, her father's younger brother. Unlike her father, who inherited Daesan Construction, his brother was given a single hotel and pushed aside. Lee Hak-soo has always wanted to remove Raehwa from the family so he can pass Daesan Construction down to his own children. Se-yeon pretends to be friendly, but she's actually spying for her father. Whenever she finds something useful, she reports it to Raehwa's dad. The entire family is eager to push her out. Gwon Itae casually asks what she wants him to do about her cousin, then suggests something extreme. She warns him that doing so would land him in jail, then asks if he's ever been there. Instead of answering, he remains silent. Se-yeon approaches with a handshake and asks how she has been, then wonders why Raehwa hasn't been answering her calls. Raehwa questions if they were ever that close in the first place. Se-yeon apologizes, claiming she was just worried and is relieved to see her. Then, she turns her attention to Gwon Itae and asks who he is. Raehwa immediately notices the shift in her cousin's expression. It's clear she came just to confirm something. Instead of answering, Raehwa remains silent. Gwon Itae steps in, introducing himself as her husband. Se-yeon is taken aback, and before she can recover, he adds that they registered their marriage 2 days ago. Without hesitation, he leans in and presses a kiss to Raehwa's cheek. Se-yeon's surprise deepens, but she quickly composes herself. Smiling, she compliments them and tells Gwon Itae to take care of Raehwa. She adds that while Raehwa may seem cold on the outside, she's actually soft-hearted. As the conversation continues, Se-yeon suddenly brings up Raehwa's past hospitalization for mental health issues. She assumes Gwon Itae already knows, since they're a married couple. Without missing a beat, he turns to Raehwa and asks if there's something wrong with her head. Then, without waiting for a response, he casually adds that he must have issues too, so they're clearly meant for each other. He then shifts his gaze back to Se-yeon, asking if she's curious about his own condition. Without hesitation, he reveals that his problem is being too good at making people disappear without remorse. Because of that, he was once locked in a mental hospital. But eventually they let him out, allowing him to wander the streets because they felt sorry for him. As he speaks, a cold smile plays on his lips, sending chills down Se-yeon's spine. When he threatens her directly, she shivers uncontrollably. Before she can react, he brushes it off, claiming it's just the ramblings of someone with a troubled mind. Unable to take any more, Se-yeon quickly ends the conversation and rushes back to her car. Gwon Itae watches her leave before turning to Raehwa, asking if they can finally go shopping. But instead of responding right away, she looks at him and firmly states that she isn't crazy. She's normal. He meets her gaze and reassures her that she is. A strange sensation spreads through her chest, almost like static electricity tingling inside her. She's spent her entire life trying to prove that she's normal, yet Gwon Itae says it so easily, as if it's simply the truth. And somehow, hearing it from him makes her believe it. Feeling grateful, she thanks him, not just for saying that, but for chasing her cousin away. He cups her face in his hands, locking eyes with her. A smirk tugs at his lips as he tells her she's damn cute. Meanwhile, in the car, Se-yeon bursts into tears. When her mother calls, she sobs uncontrollably. Concerned, her mother asks what's wrong, and Se-yeon cries that it's because of Raehwa. This time, she's completely lost her mind. She then describes the man she saw Raehwa with, struggling to put into words the intense presence he exuded. He was dangerously handsome, exuding a wild, almost predatory charm that was impossible to ignore. Her mother listens in silence before musing that Raehwa must take after her mother after all. She always pretended to be indifferent to men, but now she's clearly showing her true nature. Se-yeon frowns at the comment but doesn't argue. Then, after a brief pause, her mother decides that they should go together to see Raehwa's father. Se-yeon hesitates, her mind racing with thoughts, before finally stating that she knows who Raehwa's so-called husband really is. As Raehwa carefully selects her clothes, Gwon Itae watches for a while before commenting that she's really flexing. Then, with a smirk, he asks if she still has enough money left after giving him such a huge amount. He also wonders if her father didn't freeze her card. Without hesitation, she replies that her father locked it a long time ago. But it doesn't matter. She has plenty of money outside the card. The inheritance from her mother's paintings belongs solely to her. However, she doesn't want to rely entirely on that. Instead, she plans to work part-time, sell her own paintings, and live a normal life once their contract ends. As they talk, she notices that the waiters have been whispering among themselves ever since they arrived. Their eyes are drawn to Gwon Itae, unable to hide their curiosity. She isn't surprised. Being around him means standing in the spotlight, whether she likes it or not. She glances at him. He may look rough, but his well-defined muscles and intense aura make it impossible for people to ignore him. There's something about his presence that naturally commands attention. Then, as he continues watching the waiters, an idea forms in her mind. Turning to him, she calls his name, drawing his attention. Meeting his gaze, she casually asks if he would like to be her model. Back at home, as Raehwa prepares a meal, Gwon Itae casually asks if she meant a nude model. She shoots him a warning glance and tells him to be careful with his words. After all, she's holding a sharp object. Laughing, he considers it the best threat he's ever received. Setting that aside, she informs him that she'll keep cooking from now on since she doesn't like instant or delivery food. As they eat, he tells her he has something for her. First, he hands her a phone with location tracking installed, already set up with his number saved. Then, he presents an expensive wedding ring from a high-end brand. He wants her to have at least one thing that never leaves her body, no matter what happens. If she doesn't like the ring, he even suggests implanting a chip in her wrist. Without hesitation, she chooses to wear the ring. Next, he gives her an electric shock device, warning her not to take it out in public since it isn't something sold on the market. She thanks him, mentioning that she has used one before, so she'll have no trouble handling it. After that, he brings up the modeling topic again. She explains that she isn't trying to draw a portrait, but rather a feeling. The final painting might not even include a human figure, but if he allows it, she'll continue observing him, developing ideas, and sketching. Curious, he asks why she chose him as her model. What is it about him that moved her? She replies that it's everything. She wants to capture a person called him. He chuckles and asks if she's trying to seduce him, but she clarifies that it isn't like that. It's just that she hasn't felt this kind of inspiration in a long time, and for the first time in ages, she has a genuine desire to draw. She pleads with him to think positively about it, and assures him she'll take care of the modeling fee. Amused, he praises her unique taste, but tells her to forget about the fee. He'll consider it part of the $2 billion commission he received. However, he asks for one thing in return. Taking her hand, he gently intertwines his fingers with hers and requests that she have a drink with him just once. As he smiles at her, his phone rings. He picks up, his tone suddenly turning cold. He reminds the caller that he said he would contact him first and questions why they're in such a hurry. After ending the call, he looks at her and casually informs her. It was her father. He's suggesting a pre-engagement meeting. While taking a walk, Raehwa asks if he's really planning to attend the meeting. Gwon Itae casually replies that he is, because it sounds interesting. Contrary to expectations, he takes her father's provocations humorously and actively engages in the pre-engagement meeting. In the end, they even arrange to have dinner at DS Hotel a week later. That evening, as he opens the car door for her, he asks how her part-time job interview at the cafe went. She tells him it went well, and they asked her to start the next morning. He recalls her saying she felt suffocated staying at home. So now that she has found a job again, she should treat him to something delicious when she gets paid. She agrees. Shortly after, he informs her that he'll be out for a bit. He's heading to Incheon Airport to pick up some people he invited to help. Since dealing with her father alone might be difficult, he thought it would be best to bring in reinforcements. He adds that he'll introduce them later and tells her not to go anywhere. Curious, she asks if they work in the same field as him. He affirms that they do, reassuring her that they are reliable. He also mentions that he'll handle the payment, so she doesn't need to worry about it. Considering his words, she estimates there are at least 2 people. If they work with him, they must be highly skilled mercenaries, and if he's paying them out of the $2 billion, there won't be much left. Still, she notes that he already spent thousands on that diamond ring, so it's not surprising. As he steps out, she asks if there's anything he wants for dinner. He glances back and says he'd like some meat dishes. After Gwon Itae leaves, Raehwa decides to loosen up her hand a bit. It has been a while since she last sat in front of a canvas. She notes that if not for her contract with Gwon Itae, she wouldn't have had this peaceful time. And luckily, she even found a model. Recalling the moment he joked about being a nude model, she wonders why he said that. A sudden knock on the door interrupts her thoughts. She wonders if it's the art supplies she ordered. Telling the person to leave them at the door, she hears a voice insisting that she needs to sign for them. She hesitates, but eventually opens the door. The moment she does, a man grabs her hand. Reacting instantly, she uses the electric shocker. The man collapses. She then hears Gwon Itae laughing. Annoyed, she asks why he's laughing and if this isn't exactly why he gave her the device in the first place. He admits she did well. Turning to the man on the ground, he tells him to stop pretending and get up. The man groans and sits up, and Gwon Itae introduces him as Choi Jung, the person he was going to pick up at the airport. Raehwa silently notes that their first meeting didn't go well. As the two men chat, Choi Jung comments that she's quite an impressive woman. He points out that even if someone carries a self-defense item, fear often stops them from using it in an emergency, even with advanced training. Gwon Itae responds that she has used one before. Choi Jung admits that he originally thought she was just another spoiled rich girl, so he tried to shake her up a bit. But seeing her reaction, he now understands why she's called a lunatic by another lunatic. Laughing, he dubs them the lunatic couple. Gwon Itae tells him to apologize properly and not to pull a stunt like that again. Choi Jung agrees. Later, they sit down together and review some files related to Ryu Seoryeon's paintings. Choi Jung remarks that it's a waste to let such talent go. Even without understanding art, one can feel the raw talent behind it. Meanwhile, Gwon Itae examines the painting and thinks to himself that the bold and provocative expressions are almost frightening. The piece forcibly captivates the viewer's gaze and stirs emotions. However, something about it doesn't suit Ryu Seoryeon's outward appearance. She had a flashy aura. One would expect lively paintings from her, not these gloomy ones. As they go through her final work before her death, Choi Jung notes that this particular piece received harsh criticism. Ryu Seoryeon had always been admired, so suddenly facing such negativity must have been difficult to endure. Some even speculate that the backlash contributed to her taking her own life. Her last painting features a murky background with white and red flowers arranged in a disorderly manner. The rough brush strokes and thickly layered oil paint create an unsettling expression. Gwon Itae points out that while it seems like she attempted to maintain her usual style, something feels off. The piece lacks the intense magnetic pull that characterized her previous works. Choi Jung agrees, noting that the unique spark of her past paintings isn't present. It almost feels like an imitation of Ryu Seoryeon's style. Gwon Itae pauses, then asks if Choi Jung is suggesting that Raehwa was the one who painted it. Choi Jung responds that it's a strong possibility. Gwon Itae notes that this request was strange from the start. The deeper he investigates Daesan Construction, Ryu Seoryeon, and Lee Raehwa, the more suspicious everything becomes. His thoughts shift to Lee Raehwa, a woman who casually throws around 2 billion won and even files for marriage just to escape her stepfather. Meanwhile, Lee Jung-won goes to great lengths to block her path. And then there's Ryu Seoryeon, tangled in the strange dynamics between them. He realizes that the key to this entire web is the paintings. If Raehwa really was the one who painted Ryu Seoryeon's final piece, the situation becomes even more complicated. He also considers the possibility that her stepfather might actually be hiding her to protect her rather than harm her. But someone is lying. The question is, who? Choi Jung advises him not to trust everything Raehwa says for now. He questions whether she was truly hospitalized and states that she's mentally unstable. However, Gwon Itae dismisses the idea, insisting that she's perfectly normal. Then he casually brings up the pre-engagement meeting. Choi Jung jumps up in surprise, asking if he plans to invite his family. Gwon Itae simply giggles and reveals that he is an orphan. there's no family to contact. Choi Jung sighs, realizing that not only is the situation complicated, so is Gwon Itae himself. Choi Jung sincerely apologizes to Raehwa, bowing deeply. She quickly tells him that there's no need to go that far. During dinner, he compliments her cooking, and she simply tells him to enjoy his meal. He then shares a bit about himself. He isn't great at combat, but can defend himself. However, his real strengths lie in repairing firearms and tinkering with machines. He also reveals that he formed a team for his own protection, which includes himself, Gwon Itae, and 2 other people who are currently on their way. They all come from the desert. Raehwa hesitates, wondering if it's okay to bring more people since she only paid for one person's commission. But Choi Jung reassures her, explaining that the others are coming to Korea for business anyway, so they're simply joining in on the side. Then, with a smirk, he adds that it's all because of her husband. Gwon Itae turns to her and asks if she truly finds him reliable. She nods without hesitation. Curious, she asks Choi Jung where he learned to swear so well, considering he's lived abroad for so long. He shrugs, saying it's natural. Plus, he actually lived in Korea until high school, right next to her house in Seoul. Then, he casually mentions that he brought kandori earlier, and she thanks him. Taking the ice cream, she happily notes that it's the perfect treat after a meal. Ignoring the fact that Gwon Itae previously insulted it as old-fashioned, she asks if he wants some. He agrees to take a bite. But instead of waiting, he grabs her hand and eats straight from her portion. She stares at her half-eaten treat in disbelief, but he simply promises to buy her another one. Afterward, he informs her that Choi Jung is upstairs on the 2nd floor, handling something. Then, turning back to her, he asks if she wants to go up too. She nods, and he teasingly asks what she plans to do if he lets her. She casually mentions drinking, but he dismisses the idea, reminding her that it's meant to be the modeling fee. As she hesitates, searching for another response, he suddenly calls her by her nickname, Yetto, meaning pretty crazy, and smirks, noting how wild it sounds. She scoffs, thinking that at least the word pretty is part of it. His expression shifts as he steps closer, his gaze locking onto hers. He studies her for a moment before questioning whether she ever feels uneasy around him. Without hesitation, she meets his eyes and states that he's on her side. His voice lowers slightly as he clarifies that he isn't referring to danger, but to the fact that he's a man. Then, tilting his head slightly, he wonders aloud what she would do if he were to kiss her right then and there. She blinks in surprise, wondering why he's making such a big deal out of something so trivial. As she starts to explain, she clarifies that it isn't just because they are a couple, even if they are only pretending. Before she can finish, he pulls her close and states that he doesn't want to, because it wouldn't just end with a kiss. The next day, Gwon Itae takes up guard duty while posing as a customer in the cafe where she has just started her part-time job. As she moves around, working, her mind drifts back to last night. She wonders if he truly doesn't care, or if she is the only one still unsettled by what happened. Yesterday, he had definitely been emotional. His words about it not ending with just a kiss keep echoing in her mind. There is no mistaking the meaning behind them. He wants her. But why? Of all people, why would he choose her, his employer? She struggles to make sense of it. Despite his impulsive nature, he is someone who acts with careful calculation. He knows exactly what complications come with crossing the boundary between employer and employee, yet he is still choosing to involve himself. This isn't what she expected to be thinking about on her first day at work. Just then, the door chimes, snapping her out of her thoughts. A man steps inside, and as she greets him, she immediately notes his rough demeanor. He looks like a thug. Her instincts sharpen as she considers the possibility that he could have been sent by her father. The man scans the cafe before his gaze settles on her. His lips curl slightly as he comments on her appearance, noting that she looks pretty good for a new part-timer. The man requests her number, but she smoothly glances at Gwon Itae before responding that she is married. He seems doubtful, assuming she is just a college student, and accuses her of lying. Still, he insists on them being friends. She firmly declines, warning that if he continues, her husband will get angry. Before the man can push further, Gwon Itae steps in. With an air of indifference, he casually mentions that she has a lunatic husband, before warning the man not to interfere with his wife's work and to leave. The man curses at him, but Gwon Itae ignores it. She quickly reassures him that she is fine, reminding him that she could get fired if he keeps interfering. She recalls a past incident at another cafe and worries about history repeating itself. But he calmly tells her not to worry. She won't lose her job. The man keeps talking, pushing his luck, but Gwon Itae has had enough. With a swift move, he deals with him, sending him stumbling to the ground. Then, turning back to her, he drops an unexpected revelation. She isn't just a part-timer here. She's the boss. He explains that the day she passed the interview, he bought the cafe. He had been considering owning one in Korea anyway, so he took the opportunity. If she doesn't like the idea of being the boss, he insists on at least calling her an outstanding employee. Dazed, she questions if this is how he works. Through violence, weapons, buying cafes, and kissing. Amused, he immediately corrects her, pointing out that he hasn't kissed her yet. Then, with a teasing grin, he asks if she wants to do it now. She quickly shuts the cafe door, trying to steady herself. Her heart is pounding and her ears feel hot. This is insane. She doesn't want this. She should refuse this madness. But the words that leave her mouth are different from what she intended. Instead, she asks him what he meant when he said he wouldn't end it with just a kiss. His gaze darkens slightly as he replies that he will endure. For now. He's gained a little patience. And in that moment, something becomes painfully clear to her. She is drawn to him, not just to his presence, but to the wildness and unpredictability that come with him. His impulsiveness, his raw energy. It excites her in a way she never expected. Before she can process the thought further, their lips meet. The moment ignites like a spark catching fire and they begin to kiss. After a while, she pushes him away, trying to regain her composure. Then, glancing at the unconscious man on the floor, she asks when he will wake up. Gwon Itae casually responds that he'll be sleeping soundly for a day or so. She sighs and warns him that if he keeps behaving like this, he'll end up in prison for real one day. Her thoughts begin to spiral. Did she really just do that? The memory of what just happened lingers uncomfortably in her mind. Embarrassed, she apologizes, then hesitantly asks if she bit him too hard while trying to stop him. He dismisses the concern with amusement, pointing out that her teeth are too small to leave any real mark. Instead, he teasingly tells her to do a better job next time. But she immediately shuts him down, firmly stating that there won't be a next time. Later, she reflects on her cafe job and realizes something. The owner had been strangely eager to pass her in the interview, and now she understands why. Gwon had already bought the cafe before she was even hired. Not long after, the day of the arranged meeting with her father arrives. As she prepares for it, she checks the freezer and notices an unusual amount of her favorite ice cream. He must have bought a lot of it. Despite his rough exterior, she realizes once again that he is surprisingly considerate. Thinking about the cafe, she acknowledges that Gwon didn't just push the boss position onto her. Instead, he hired a former longtime employee, gave him a generous salary, and appointed him as the manager. That arrangement relieved her since she only had to carry the title of boss and work in the mornings without any real burden. He had created a place for her to work without hassle. Yet, beyond that, she recalls all the ways he unsettles others, his ability to scare people, his rough and unpredictable nature, his tendency to act with a fiery expression and vulgar behavior. But unlike everyone else, he isn't afraid of Lee Jung-won. The memory of him telling her she was normal resurfaces. No one had ever believed that before, yet he did, without hesitation. That realization unsettles her. His raw, unrestrained nature both stimulates and inspires something within her. It's unfamiliar and dangerous, like the impulsive kiss in the cafe. And worst of all, she fears that if she gets too close, he might disrupt her already fragile mental stability. Still lost in thought, she barely notices when Gwon Itae walks up to her. He casually asks if she saw the kanjoki he bought. She corrects him, saying that's not the name. He shrugs and tries again, misnaming it once more. She looks away, uninterested in correcting him further. Undeterred, he changes the subject, confirming that she plans to stop by the shop before heading to the hotel. Then, without waiting for a response, he states that they should get going. The arranged meeting is set at DS Hotel, located in Gangbuk District. The hotel is renowned for its expansive greenery and stunning views of the Han River, a prestigious establishment with a long history and tradition. Her mother's exhibitions had always been held here. As they step out of the car, a hotel staff member approaches to guide them. Raehwa notes to herself that her father won't be the only one attending. Since the hotel is owned by her uncle, Lee Hak-soo, there's a chance that his wife, Kang Mi-ok, and their daughter, Lee Se-yeon, will also show up. Once inside, they immediately encounter her uncle's wife. The woman greets them and informs Raehwa that her father will be a little late. Then, in a tone that feigns warmth, she mentions that she's here to greet her brother-in-law and see Raehwa's face after so long, as opportunities to meet are rare outside of occasions like these. Raehwa responds politely, keeping her expression neutral. The woman then asks Raehwa to stay in touch. Without missing a beat, she adds a remark about Raehwa's weight, pointing out that while the change is slight, it's noticeable due to her tall stature. She advises her to take care of herself. With a smile, she compares her own daughter, calling her cute with a bit of chubbiness because of her smaller frame, but insists that Raehwa needs to stay slim to look pretty. Raehwa silently notes that the woman hasn't changed. Moments later, her cousin, Lee Se-yeon, walks in. She greets both Raehwa and Gwon Itae, then immediately blushes. Flustered, she admits that she didn't get the chance to greet him properly last time. Gwon watches her with mild amusement, wondering if she ate something strange to be acting like this. Then, stepping closer, she beams at him and confidently states that she remembers him. They almost got engaged once. Raehwa laughs, treating it like a joke, while her cousin earnestly tries to jog his memory. But despite the lighthearted exchange, Raehwa acknowledges to herself that her cousin isn't lying. If she were, it would be obvious. Se-yeon has never been good at controlling her expressions. Gwon watches her carefully as she assures him that she'll keep it a secret, revealing that only she and her mother know about it. He narrows his eyes, questioning whether she's trying to threaten him. Then, turning the tables, he asks if he should do the same. Before Se-yeon can respond, her mother steps in, explaining that it's nothing of the sort. She insists that her daughter only wanted to meet him again. Softening her tone, she says that since it happened 10 years ago, it's understandable if he doesn't remember, but their families had arranged an engagement back then. Gwon doesn't confirm or deny it. Instead, he tilts his head, recalling something. He admits that he isn't sure about any engagement, but he does vaguely remember someone coming to him back then, begging for something. His words immediately wipe the smile from Kang Mi-ok's face. Her expression hardens. Raehwa gently places a hand on Gwon Itae, searching his face as she asks what's going on. He answers calmly, brushing it off as nothing more than a misunderstanding on their part. But she isn't convinced. She can tell he's hiding something. If she pushes now, she knows she might uncover secrets he doesn't want revealed. Secrets that could hurt him. And despite everything, she doesn't want that. So she chooses to let it go. Her decision only fuels her cousin's frustration. Lee Se-yeon's expression twists in disbelief, accusing Raehwa of deliberately pretending nothing is wrong. She demands to know if Raehwa thinks she's lying about the engagement. Without hesitation, Raehwa acknowledges that everything Se-yeon said is true, but adds that she simply doesn't care. Then, linking her arm through Gwon Itae's, she firmly tells her cousin to stop showing interest in someone else's husband. Se-yeon sniffles, muttering that Raehwa is being too harsh. Her mother immediately comforts her, patting her arm, but the moment is short-lived. Kang Mi-ok's eyes flash with anger, and she turns on Raehwa, raising her voice and hurling insults at her. Before the situation can escalate further, the door swings open. Chairman Lee Jung-won steps into the room. Kang Mi-ok straightens instantly, her hostility vanishing as she quickly approaches him with a practiced smile. She greets him warmly, explaining that she had only stayed behind to greet him briefly. The chairman acknowledges her with a nod, then glances around the room. His gaze settles on her daughter, eyes narrowing at the tear-streaked face. He questions why she's crying. Kang Mi-ok responds smoothly, claiming that Raehwa said something a little too harsh, which upsets Seon because she's soft-hearted and easily hurt. She quickly assures him that it's nothing serious, just a petty squabble between girls. The chairman shifts his attention to Raehwa, asking if she has anything to say. She meets his gaze, her expression unreadable. Then, with a composed voice, she tells him she has nothing to say. For a moment, silence hangs in the air. Then, without warning, the chairman raises his hand, striking Kang Mi-ok across the face. She stumbles slightly, but quickly regains her posture. His voice is cold as he reprimands her, stating that she should have ensured her daughter didn't behave so thoughtlessly in front of his daughter. Kang Mi-ok immediately bows her head, apologizing first to him, then to Raehwa. Raehwa watches as Kang Mi-ok trembles, pretending to ask if she's okay. The sight disgusts her, not because of the woman's pitiful display, but because of the man who created this entire situation. To outsiders, Lee Jung-won appears to be the perfect father, a man who fiercely protects and prioritizes his daughter. But Raehwa knows better. He never lets even the smallest mistake slide, and she can't shake the feeling that his behavior is intentional. It seems to her that, under the guise of protection, he systematically severs anyone who gets too close to her, ensuring she has no one left by her side. She doesn't want to think about what that means for Gwon Itae. Pushing those thoughts away, she forces herself to speak. She pleads with her father to stop, reminding him that this isn't why they are here. The unnecessary commotion is embarrassing, especially in front of her husband. Perhaps to maintain appearances, he accepts her words without resistance. With that, Kang Mi-ok and Seon leave the room, and Raehwa and Gwon Itae take their seats. As they settle in, her father requests the waiter to serve the meal. Then, as if this is a casual family gathering, he presents her with flowers, claiming it has been too long since they last saw each other. The moment the scent reaches her, her body reacts violently. A shiver runs through her. Her stomach twists, and an overwhelming wave of nausea crashes over her. Her breath catches in her throat. The room suddenly feels suffocating, the heavy floral scent clinging to her lungs. She needs to leave, immediately. Before she can make a move, a warm hand wraps around hers. Gwon Itae. His grip is firm yet reassuring as he holds her hand, offering a calm smile. Then, breaking the tense silence, he begins to speak. He casually brings up her mother as if discussing pleasant memories. Then, with a tone too even for comfort, he states that Raehwa is the last gift her mother left behind. However, Gwon Itae observes that the engagement meeting feels unusually simple. He then asks the chairman if he is aware that he is an orphan. The chairman acknowledges that he had assumed so, but remarks that Gwon was rather straightforward on the phone. Shifting the conversation, her father inquires about Raehwa's well-being. She responds that she feels emotionally stable now that she has someone she loves and reassures him not to worry. However, he insists that she still needs to visit the hospital, which she refuses. He then asks if she still harbors the delusion that he broke her finger. At this, she abruptly rises from her seat, demanding to know why he keeps denying it. Gwon Itae also stands and suggests they step outside for a cigarette. Meanwhile, at home, Choi Jung, monitoring the situation, complains that his eyes might fall out. Gwon responds that there's no thinner lens than the one he's using, an ultra-thin, high-tech camera. Choi then reports that the chairman's security detail is smaller than expected, with all guards armed only with gas guns. Noting the advantage of numbers, he comments on the ongoing confrontation, but remains undecided about who is telling the truth, Raehwa or her father. He remarks that since Gwon still has the opportunity to converse with the chairman, they might uncover the truth. Back at the meeting, the chairman reveals that upon investigating Gwon Itae's past, he discovered that all records had been fabricated, leaving no trace of his history before adulthood. Curious, he asks what kind of person Gwon truly is. Gwon calmly responds that he is simply the man who took his daughter. The chairman, deciding to be candid, states that he does not approve of him and asks Gwon to consider the situation from his perspective. Gwon admits that if he were in the chairman's place, he wouldn't entrust his daughter to someone like himself either. However, the chairman declares that he will acknowledge their relationship since his daughter has chosen Gwon. He then proposes a compromise. Both of them should move into his house. Gwon, expecting this, questions if such a demand isn't excessive for a newlywed couple. The chairman advises him not to be hostile and instead to trust him if he truly loves Raehwa. He insists that Raehwa must have told Gwon strange things about him, but she has mental issues, has undergone inpatient treatment, and hasn't fully recovered. Gwon immediately orders him to shut up. Stepping closer, he demands to know if the chairman truly broke Raehwa's finger. The chairman remains silent for a moment before explaining that his daughter lost parts of her childhood memories due to her condition. He claims that she forced herself to draw like her mother, and when he tried to stop her, she accidentally injured her finger by bumping into something. Unable to draw for a while, she supposedly resented him and fabricated lies. Unconvinced, Gwon moves forward and strikes him. A guard rushes to call for backup, but Gwon swiftly takes down the approaching bodyguards. He taunts the chairman, questioning if this is the best security he could arrange, then apologizes for getting carried away. Looking directly at him, Gwon declares that he genuinely likes Raehwa and will believe whatever she says. Unless she decides otherwise, he refuses to set foot in the chairman's house. However, he also notes that he strongly suspects the chairman did exactly what Raehwa accused him of. With this in mind, Gwon proposes a bet, challenging the chairman to prove his innocence. As Gwon Itae walks out of the room, Choi Jung questions how he could attack the chairman without thinking. Ignoring the comment, Gwon asks about May. Choi Jung reports that May and Schmidt are delaying their entry into the country and will investigate the collector, Lujin. Gwon then instructs him to have May determine how much of the chairman's claims are true and how much are lies. Though he firmly believes the chairman is lying, he admits there seems to be an odd mix of truth in his words. Choi Jung hesitates, worried that digging deeper might lead to illegal territory. Gwon, unfazed, orders him to investigate the hospital where Raehwa was admitted, though he plans to visit it himself soon. He agrees but points out that Gwon usually remains calm, no matter what nonsense the other party spews. Yet this time, he's acting impulsively. Again, Gwon ignores him and declares that he's off work for the day, suggesting they discuss the rest tomorrow. In his thoughts, he acknowledges that Choi Jung is right. When it comes to Lee Raehwa, his patience wears thin. It bothers him. He wants to get involved. And as a result, he keeps getting provoked. Upon entering the room where she is, he meets her brown eyes staring at him. A strange surge of impulse rises within him, its cause unknown. He silently questions himself. What does he want to do with her? Brushing aside the thought, he answers her earlier question, informing her that the meeting is over and they should leave. As they drive, Raehwa reflects on the countless questions swirling in her mind. His past engagement with Lee Se-yeon, the details of his conversation with her father, and why he never asks about her past. Yet, she lacks the courage to ask. Instead, she casually invites him for a drink, surprising him. She then suggests eating ramen together, unaware of its suggestive meaning. He immediately calls her out, questioning why she keeps making people misunderstand. Confused, she asks what's so strange about eating ramen. He counters by asking if she watches movies. She replies that she only watches action films. Shaking his head, he warns her not to say such things to others. She nods in agreement. Later, at the dining table, he comments on the ramen's spiciness, but says it's manageable. She laughs, teasing that it's because he looks cute. He stares at her in response. After the meal, she suggests having a drink. He agrees and leads her to the second floor. She hesitates, reminding him that he once said it was dangerous there. He reassures her that it's safe as long as she's with him. Upon entering, she is stunned to find an entire store of weapons. The scene reminds her of something straight out of an action movie. Curiosity piqued, she asks if he knows how to use them. With a smirk, he asks if she wants him to demonstrate each one. Alarmed, she quickly says there's no need for that. As they talk, the conversation shifts to the person Gwon Itae mercilessly dealt with. He questions if she is surprised, but to her, it would be stranger if he had spared someone he wanted revenge on. He acknowledges her point, but clarifies that it was more a matter of negligence, and that they were family members. After a brief pause, she asks about his discussion with her father. A thought lingers in her mind, whether he also believes she is lying. The idea that she might be seen as someone who fabricates stories due to delusions unsettles her. However, Gwon dismisses the concern, stating that her father didn't say anything reasonable. The conversation shifts as he asks about her broken finger. She explains that she had been caught secretly setting up an atelier and drawing. Her father, fearing that she would follow the same path as her mother, had not wanted to lose her, the last remaining trace of her mother. However, she does not believe that excuse. The contradiction of someone claiming to care yet sending their own daughter to a mental hospital lingers in her mind. The irony is not lost on her. She has no memory of her life before her mother's death. Her childhood recollections remain sporadic and fragmented, yet the moment of her mother's absence is vividly imprinted. She wonders whether her intense urge to draw is an unconscious struggle to retrieve lost memories, a force so overwhelming that it feels like madness. Her hand instinctively moves to create art, yet at the same time she feels a dreadful compulsion against it. Her father had always questioned why she insisted on recalling painful memories whenever she tried to draw. But to her, recovering those memories feels necessary, as though there is an unknown truth buried within them. The thought lingers. Why it had to happen in front of her. The lack of answers has left her feeling like a fool. Yet, despite everything, she remains certain that she will draw him. As Gwon leans forward, his gaze locks onto hers. The depth of his eyes unsettles her, drawing her in. She finds them strikingly beautiful, as if they hold something she wants to capture. But when she expresses this thought, he only smirks. Removing them is impossible, but he is willing to offer something else. He moves even closer. The air between them shifts, thick with an unspoken tension. Without another word, he closes the distance and kisses her. Later, Gwon Itae leans in and whispers into her ear, warning her to stop moving. His voice takes on a teasing edge as he threatens that she will not survive if they do such a thing again. She lets out a scream, mentally questioning how anyone with a conscience could say something like that. Pulling herself out of bed, she reaches for a cigarette and asks if he is the one smoking it. Instead of answering, he questions whether she remembers anything from the night before. When she remains silent, he asks if she wants to try smoking. As she holds the cigarette, a memory stirs in her mind. She recalls the sensation of humid air, the scorching sun, and the small patches of shade offering little relief. A young boy appears in the memory, his frame delicate, his clothes revealing bruises underneath. He looks fragile, as if he might break at any moment. His face remains obscured by darkness, but she remembers him making a silly remark. The memory lingers, and she wonders who the boy was, whether she has met him before. But before she can grasp anything further, her mother's face flashes through her mind. A sudden wave of emotions overwhelms her, and she cries out. Gwon Itae immediately reaches for her hand, concern evident in his expression. He asks if she is okay. Struggling to compose herself, she explains that the last memory of her mother acts as a barrier, preventing her from recalling other moments from her past. Though shaken, she assures him that she is fine. Trying to shift the conversation, she apologizes for her actions the previous night, blaming it on the influence of alcohol. However, he does not see it the same way. Questioning her, he asks what exactly she regrets. She hesitates before admitting that she is afraid their relationship might fall apart. Her thoughts betray her. This fear stems from the fact that their relationship is purely contractual. The uncertainty unsettles her. Gwon Itae, however, remains composed. He reassures her, stating that she has nothing to be afraid of. He promises not to force her into anything, emphasizing that he had no intention of taking things seriously with her in the first place. Standing up, he extends a hand to her, suggesting they revert to their original dynamic. His tone is calm, almost indifferent, as if what happened between them was of little consequence. Before leaving, he advises her to rest more, mentioning that he has work to attend to and will be out for a while. During training, Gwon Itae practices in uniform when May calls. She comments on his expression, noting that he doesn't seem to be in a good mood. He brushes it off, claiming he feels great. May moves on to the reason for her call, informing him that she has checked everything he asked for. She is currently sending the data, but the slow network is causing a delay. Not long after, Choi joins the call, deciding to help out. He brings up Gwon Itae's eyes, prompting May to ask if something happened between him and Ploy, Raehwa's nickname. Curious, she presses him to explain their relationship. He dismisses the question, stating that it is purely an employment relationship, then urges them to focus on work. May directs his attention to page 3 of the document she sent, revealing new findings. She explains that Raehwa wasn't simply found at the scene of her mother's passing. According to testimony from the paramedics who responded at the time, she actually witnessed the entire event. Her mother had tied her tightly with a rope and deliberately showed her how she was going to take her own life, subjecting her to unimaginable trauma. The reasons behind her mother's actions remain unclear, especially since the chairman has never issued an official statement about it. The only witness, Raehwa, had suffered a severe mental shock, rendering her silent. Her claim of memory loss was the only explanation for her inability to respond. With her father actively protecting her, the police investigation quickly fell apart. However, one detail stood out. The attending physician who treated Raehwa at the mental hospital became unalive a few months after her discharge. May comments on the timing, finding it suspicious, but points out that the nurse in charge is still working at the hospital. Gwon Itae decides to check on her personally. Before ending the conversation, May shares an additional report about a woman named Lujin. She explains that after the incident, Raehwa created some paintings, but her father discarded them. However, an employee secretly took a few and later claimed they were unreleased works of her mother. He sold them at an underworld auction, where they eventually ended up in Lujin's possession. Lujin, a renowned casino mogul in Macau, had been an ardent admirer of Ryu Seoryeon. When she acquired the paintings, she soon realized they were fresh and not authentic works of Ryu Seoryeon. Initially displeased, she later sought a perfect imitation in the same style. However, by then, the chairman had already taken care of the employee responsible for the theft. Later on, Lujin discovered the existence of Raehwa. Choi Jung notes that Lujin is well known and adds that at least 3 people are now after Raehwa. When May asks who they are, he names her father, Lujin, and Gwon Itae. Both of them then burst into laughter. When Gwon questions if they are simply bored, they deny it. May provides him with the hospital's address and ends the call on her end. Left alone with Choi Jung, Gwon instructs him to guard Raehwa while he plans to visit the hospital in 2 days. Curious, he remarks that something seems off, then asks if anything happened between him and Raehwa. Receiving no response, he recalls the moment she admitted being scared. He wonders why she feels that way, yet remained unfazed when he handled someone the first time they met. Finding it absurd, he assumes there must be another reason but decides against pressing her for an answer. His thoughts drift to the previous night, questioning if their shared moment is clouding his mind. He concludes that she initiated it first and that he couldn't resist, especially when she looked so adorable and beautiful while intoxicated. Choi Jung, noticing his distraction, questions what's wrong, but he remains lost in thought. Later, he informs her that he is heading out, leaving Choi Jung in charge. She privately notes how he acts as if nothing happened that night. While relieved that she didn't harm him, she still feels awkward and uneasy. During a meal, Choi Jung asks if she has any concerns, encouraging her to voice any complaints or questions about her husband. He even offers to gossip about him. Taking the opportunity, she asks if his reason for going out was to gather information about her mental health. Guessing how the situation is playing out, she waits for his response, but he remains silent, unsure of what to say. She clarifies that she isn't asking him to believe she's fine. Before she can continue, he cuts in, reassuring her that Gwon Itae trusts her. With that, they decide to finish their meal and head back quickly since it's getting late. On their way home, he suggests taking the fastest route, but notes that the road appears inconvenient at this hour. Looking ahead, he spots some men and immediately inquires about the electric shock device. Meanwhile, Gwon Itae observes his surroundings and notes that the place resembles a high-end care facility, rather than a typical hospital. A voice greets him, then asks if he is Gwon. He confirms and inquires if the man is Nurse Kang Geon-ho, receiving an affirmation in return. Apologizing for calling him out, he explains that he is searching for a hospital where his family can be admitted. He mentions that an acquaintance who had been hospitalized there before spoke highly of the nurse. Wanting to hear more, he requested this meeting. As they speak, the nurse takes note of Gwon's flashy wristwatch, car key, and the luxury items he is wearing. Observing this, he assumes that if Gwon's family is admitted through him, it would be as if he is bringing a VIP. When Gwon asks if he knows Raehwa, he confirms. Then Gwon presents him with a small gift and politely asks him to take good care of his family when they are hospitalized. The nurse accepts, inspecting the item and assessing its quality. While examining the gift, he briefly wonders if Gwon expects something in return at the hospital. However, he dismisses the thought, reasoning that wealthy individuals often seek such facilities for relaxation and frequently request their family members to be confined for extended stays. Gwon advises the nurse to speak casually, mentioning that he is older. Offering to cover the drinks, he receives a grateful response, with the nurse addressing him as his little brother. Observing the man's words and actions, Gwon questions if he is already drunk, but the nurse denies it. Shifting the topic, Gwon asks if his family is close to Raehwa's, to which the nurse responds that their parents are, but he himself only knows her a little. When asked about her condition, the nurse comments that she shouldn't have ended up in the hospital in the first place. Gwon, sensing something unusual, presses for clarification. The nurse explains that, though he isn't a doctor, simple observation made things clear. Unlike other patients, she never caused a disturbance and appeared completely normal. However, there was something unsettling about her case. He recalls that the doctor consistently prescribed strong medication from the start. Even when she cried and begged to be released, she seemed normal. But once she was placed in the isolation room and subjected to medication, her memory steadily deteriorated. Eventually, she could no longer remember when or why she had been admitted. He mentions that while the official reason for her hospitalization was mental trauma, it was evident that her family had forced her in. Cases like that, he adds, weren't uncommon. Gwon concludes that the doctor must have accepted money from her family to keep her confined. Meanwhile, the nurse takes note of how specifically Gwon remembers details about Raehwa. Then, with an unsettling tone, he admits that her situation sparked an unusual hobby for him. Watching her tied to the bed had been a strangely provocative sight, something he found enjoyable. He even confesses that he would have restrained her himself if not for the surveillance cameras in the isolation room. Gwon's patience snaps. In an instant, he shatters the bottle of liquor and turns on the nurse, unleashing his anger. The man hurriedly apologizes, but Gwon firmly warns him that Raehwa will never be admitted again and orders him to stay away from her. The shaken nurse accepts without protest. As he walks away, he reflects on how things would have been resolved quickly if the doctor were still alive, speculating that her father may have erased her memories using medication. Just then, he receives a GPS notification related to Raehwa. A call from May follows, informing him that his wife has been kidnapped and that both their signals have disappeared. She believes it's a kidnapping since Choi wouldn't leave without a word. He notes that the kidnappers must be highly skilled, especially with Choi involved. May sends him the potential locations, and he advises her to monitor the chairman's account, identify the kidnappers, and buy them some time. Meanwhile, Choi Jung apologizes to Raehwa, admitting she isn't good at fighting, but reassures her that Gwon will arrive soon, so she should hold on a little longer. Raehwa realizes this isn't a typical kidnapping, as it's the first time the chairman has used such a large number of dangerous people, indicating his determination to see it through. Choi doesn't fully understand Raehwa's remark, but loosens her grip slightly, in case Raehwa needs to escape. Raehwa thanks her and wonders why the men outside are arguing, even though they've left them tied up. Choi speculates it might be a money issue. Raehwa notices Choi's uneasy expression and asks about it, realizing it's not related to the kidnapping. Choi admits that he's concerned about Gwon, fearing his condition will relapse. Just as Raehwa is about to ask more, chaos erupts when a vehicle crashes into the building. The kidnappers are startled as they wonder who's in the car. Gwon steps out, and upon seeing him, one of them remarks that they were scared for nothing. The man receives a call from May, who asks if the negotiator has arrived. He responds briefly, and she tells him they'll offer double the money he received from the other side. He explains that the chairman only wanted Raehwa's hand destroyed, but May insists that she wants her returned without a single strand of hair touched, and that she'll offer twice the amount. He thinks it's a bit mismatched, but she reminds him that she was just buying time until Gwon arrives, then ends the call. As Gwon is about to deal with the kidnappers, Choi screams his name, warning him that they're in Korea, but he ignores him, telling him to take care of Raehwa. He quickly unties himself, ensuring Raehwa doesn't see what's happening. Although the view is blocked, she still hears the sounds. After a while, he releases her and rushes to him, telling him to wake up because they still need to uncover more about the mastermind and the lady, who is watching everything. He then informs May over the phone that he barely managed to stop him, but it was over quickly. Meanwhile, as he walks toward her, Raehwa thinks to herself that the place smells of blood, like when one slaughters an animal. He requests her hand, apologizing for smelling like alcohol and asking her not to be mad, knowing she hates drunk driving. Still holding her hand, a warning sound blares in her head like a siren. Her emotions overflow, sending a signal to stop, but she can't look away. The man who crashed his car into the building to rescue her, who took on the men sent by her father, is now cowering, afraid of receiving her displeasure for drunk driving. He had always seemed carefree, like he was always wearing a mask, but occasionally he shows a nightmarish violence. She feels compelled to explore what he's hiding, all the way to the bottom, wanting to know everything about him. She even feels the urge to draw him right then, causing her fingers to tremble. He notices her silence and asks if she hurt her tongue, telling her to open her mouth so he can see. Shortly after, he tells her to excuse him for addressing her as customer, and warns that if she continues staring at him with those eyes, he might misunderstand her intentions. She responds by admitting that he scares her. He asks if she is still afraid of him and if she wants him to call Choi Jung for help. She quickly declines, but he notes that seeing him act in this way could understandably make her afraid. Despite this, he apologizes for coming late and acknowledges that he should have been by her side, protecting her. Raehwa says that she is afraid he will ruin her. She is terrified that the feelings she has toward him will destroy the stability she has worked so hard to maintain. Yet, even with that fear, the desire to draw him becomes more intense and frightening. It seems there's nowhere left for her to run from these overwhelming emotions. So, without another word, she leans forward and kisses him. Afterward, Gwon takes her home, as she wants to go back and draw. Meanwhile, Choi Jung and May are on a call discussing the situation. He says that it's beyond common sense, so he suggests they take the chairman to the hospital. He finds it unreasonable to claim it's because he doesn't want his daughter to draw, fearing she might suffer insanity and commit suicide like her mother. However, he thanks her for what she did, as the group of men has split into two factions. One supports the original idea, while the other wants the doubled amount deal. This gives him insight into the chaos that happened earlier. He concludes that all the chairman's claims about caring for his daughter are lies. Then, Choi tells May that it would be easier to uncover what happened on that day, rather than trying to understand the chairman's cruel reason for preventing her from drawing. She asks about Raehwa, and he informs her that Raehwa has been drawing in the atelier, and that something today seems to have inspired her. She asks about Gwon, and Choi replies that he is meeting with the cleaning company arranged by Schmidt to clean up the crime scene. At May's end, Schmidt steps close to her, and she calls him by his nickname. He reminds her with a hint of irritation not to call him that, but she laughs. Speaking to Choi, Schmidt informs him that he met with Loo-jin and that she knows much more than he expected. May notes that since Loo-jin has been searching for Raehwa long before, no matter how hard they try to block her, there are limits to what they can do. Schmidt then suggests they contact Gwon for a discussion first, as Loo-jin has offered quite favorable conditions. Schmidt is the CEO of a private military company, Desert. Meanwhile, in the atelier, Raehwa is focused on her brush and colors. Gwon enters, apologizing for interrupting her, and suggests that she eat something since she stayed up all night. She sets aside her brush and paints, then heads toward the door. As she moves, Gwon wonders if the drawings are about him, and he becomes emotional, realizing that her room is filled with depictions of him. At the dining table, he asks if she enjoys drawing so much. She affirms, and he then asks if she wants to go to Macau. She asks why it's so sudden, then tells him she doesn't have a passport because the chairman doesn't like her going abroad and she's never been there. She asks him to clarify that it isn't because of the accident, that he isn't trying to escape, but that she will be going. He explains that someone is interested in her drawings, someone who can protect her from her father and has the resources to support her drawing freely. She asks why he isn't going with her, and he replies that she won't need security there. He also mentions that he will refund the remaining commission if she goes to Macau. But she jumps up immediately, stating that she doesn't want to go. She thinks to herself that, from his perspective, it isn't something to worry about. She notes that it isn't wrong for him to suggest it, but the reason she keeps getting angry is because he wants her to go alone. She had thought they would move together, even though their relationship would disappear once the commission is finished. He tries to explain that the chairman is behind the kidnapping and it could happen again if she stays in Korea. He emphasizes that she can draw safely in Macau since it's the most important thing to her. She responds that a sudden change in environment could have a significant mental impact, and she will need time to adapt if she goes, but she doesn't want to waste her time on that. However, she says she would never go alone. He moves closer and, holding her waist, questions her to confirm. She almost says yes, but instead tells him that she isn't going and he should watch over her properly. She warns that she will cut the commission in half if she gets kidnapped again, and he accepts, stating that they shouldn't go. He then informs Schmidt on a call that she said she wouldn't go, no matter what happens, then he requests to introduce himself. He does, then informs her that he'll be entering Korea soon and would like to meet her in person and greet her formally. He requests that they arrange a meeting if she's okay with it, and she accepts. Addressing Gwon as Tae, he says he'll contact him, and the call ends. She wonders what it is, and Gwon responds that it's his nickname. He explains that Schmidt seems to be fluent in Korean, although he learned it because of Gwon. But May, who's part of the team, is even better, and she gave him the nickname. She wonders how he made them learn it, and he responds that it's natural for someone to work hard when they're lacking. Afterward, her phone beeps, and it's a message from her cousin. It states that he's now in Korea and requests that they meet the next day, mentioning that he missed her. Gwon questions who it is, and she responds that it's her cousin, Lee Se-yeon's elder brother, Lee Sun-woo. He mentions that the guy's last statement is embarrassing, and she explains that he's really her cousin, but they aren't that close. Gwon still finds it suspicious. She isn't understanding why, so he explains further, but she thinks he's just being jealous. He states that Sun-woo might be following the chairman's orders. However, she notes that her uncle is desperate for his son to inherit Daesan Construction, since the chairman has no other children besides her, his adopted daughter. Still, her uncle has to prove himself to the chairman, though he's not the type to do something like Lee Se-yeon. She adds that her uncle is the only sane one in the family. Gwon questions what she knows about people's hearts, and she affirms that she knows. Then, she wonders if Lee Se-yeon knows that her brother wants to see her. She recalls that she was excessively fond and proud of her brother, but if Lee Se-yeon knew she was meeting him alone, she'd probably go crazy. Thinking about it further, she recalls that her cousin and Gwon almost got engaged. She knows she'd explode if she asked her, and Gwon would probably give the same answer as last time if she did. Putting that aside, she turns to Gwon and says she has to meet Sun-woo the next day. However, Gwon accepts that they both go to see him the next day. She recalls a moment when her mother wanted to go see someone and called her father to make the decision for her. He picked the dress in her left hand, but she decided to go with the one in her right. Shortly after they arrived, and they noted that their flower had arrived. Her father then asked her some questions. Back to the present moment, the chairman's phone rings, and he speaks with Director Park, who informs him that the mission failed. He questions if Raehwa escaped, but the director ignores that question and informs him that the people they employed are all gone. He explains the strife, how they quarreled and fought each other. However, the chairman notes that Gwon was the one who caused the damage, not any of the thugs. The director agrees and says that it seems impossible to fight against Desert. He then suggests that the chairman end the relationship with his daughter. The chairman questions if the director doesn't understand what Raehwa means to him, stating that she is his wife's most beautiful masterpiece. He expresses that if she leaves as well, it would feel like traces of his wife have completely disappeared from the world. So, he insists on trying, even if the chance of recovering her is slim. When they alight from the car, Raehwa questions why Gwon followed her and why he changed his car again. He responds that it got crushed, so he bought a sturdier one this time. He jokingly says that he might accidentally hit someone again today, and she tells him not to say such unlucky things. As she stares at him, the leaves' shade casts on his body, and she recalls a moment when she saw him much younger. She wants to say something about it, but her cousin Sunwoo arrives. He's happy to see her and grabs her hand firmly, but Gwon quickly knocks his hand off hers. Sunwoo questions what Gwon is doing and tells Raehwa to come closer to him. Raehwa wonders if her cousin didn't hear anything from his sister, then informs him that Gwon is her husband. They greet each other, but during the process, Gwon squeezes her cousin's hand tightly, releasing it only when Sunwoo cries out. Raehwa tells him that they should go to the cafe and talk first, assuring Gwon that he shouldn't worry too much and that he shouldn't be rude. Gwon assures her that he will try as long as the guy doesn't have strange thoughts about her. At the cafe, Gwon sits, watching them as they discuss. Raehwa wonders why he keeps fiddling with the sling bag, thinking there might be a weapon inside. Afterwards, her cousin states that it's been a long time since they last met. She affirms and says that she was so preoccupied that she didn't greet him properly. He talks about her being exactly the same after all these years, still beautiful and cute. She asks if it's a compliment, and he affirms. Then he tells her that he arrived in Korea the previous day and came to see her first. Raehwa suddenly feels a lot of pressure and asks why her cousin is bringing all this up. He replies that he came because he was surprised to hear that she got married. He adds that he originally planned to return but ended up coming much earlier than planned. He spills that her husband is quite unexpected and questions if she really likes someone like him because he thought she would prefer someone more composed and quiet. Raehwa affirms, and he continues, saying that he thinks the two of them don't match at all. He questions if she is under some kind of threat. She tells him that she chose him. He then asks if her father knows everything, and she replies that her dad opposed it. Raehwa reflects on their relationship, thinking that it was just in name since they had no blood relationship. Considering Daesan Construction, they were more like competitors. She notes that it feels awkward, but Sunwoo has always taken special care of her in the past and even now. She wonders about the reason behind his actions, but as expected, she decides to quickly ask about it and move on. So she questions if his sister has ever been engaged to anyone. He replies that she has never been engaged, but adds that when her sister was in high school, she almost got engaged. Raehwa can't believe it, and he explains that it was briefly mentioned, so the chairman may not know. The engagement was never properly arranged because the other party passed away before anything could be finalized. She wants to know more about how it happened, and he continues explaining that the guy was originally frail and eventually passed away due to illness, causing the engagement to fall apart. She asks what kind of illness it was, and he admits he isn't sure about the details. She also wonders if there were no other sons in that family, and he tells her that he heard the guy was the only child. Now, Raehwa is thinking that Lee Seon might have mistaken the person who passed away for Gwon. She asks if Sunwoo knows the family her sister was engaged to, but he responds that it happened too long ago when he was in America. He was too preoccupied with school and hardly paid attention to family matters. Sunwoo asks if he should look into it for her, reaching for her hand and stating that it would be a nice excuse to contact her again. He then questions why she's so curious about his sister's engagement and tells her to share the reason so he can comfortably look into it. Raehwa declines and says his answer is enough for now. He acknowledges that she must find it difficult to trust him given the situation at home, and he says it's natural. He adds that he's a little hurt, and she apologizes. Then he asks if she is happy after getting married. She affirms that she is, but he insists she contact him if anything happens. Grabbing her hand, he spills that he only thought about her while he was in America, continuously. He says he wanted to be someone who suits her, so he worked even harder. He holds her hand tight enough that she can feel it, adding that he shouldn't have left her behind. She informs him that her hand hurts, so he should let go. but he says he can't take it anymore. About to say something when she quickly pours her drink on his face and tells him to get a grip and let go. He apologizes for getting lost in thought for a moment. His apology triggers some memories for Raehwa as she recalls when her father apologized to her. He had asked her why she was unconsciously imitating her mother's painting style, holding her hand and saying that it wouldn't be good if rumors spread that she was her mother's imitator. Regarding the time he hit her with a hammer, he had said that he loved her and didn't want her to lose her like her mom. He added that she couldn't understand his feelings. After his words, he places the hammer on her hand and she screams. Raehwa knew it all along, but she didn't want to stop her foolish trust until she was forced to accept the harsh reality, with the hammer being driven into her hand. She stands up to leave immediately, and Gwon comments that what she did was so touching, suggesting that she should also slap her cousin next time. Then he asks if she was scared because he wasn't around, though he's been watching. She questions why he was there instead of by her side. Gwon wonders what's going on with her, noting that he's had his fair share of oddballs in his life, especially in the mercenary world, which is filled with nutcases. He's bumped into all sorts of clients, but someone like her is the first. He thinks it may be because she doesn't look it, but keeps doing crazy things. He finds himself constantly drawn to her, worrying about her and thinking about her. Thoughts of her constantly getting in the way of his work. He can't figure her out because one minute she's scared of him, and the next she's kissing him. Meanwhile, at the table, Choi Jung comments that her cousin doesn't seem like the type to pull stunts, but he reminds him that one always has to watch out for the quiet ones. He adds that it seems like he'll have to wreck another car today when he sees her cousin holding her too tight. Walking toward them, Choi tells him to calm down because there are people around. Shortly after, Raehwa pours her drink on her cousin and stands up to leave. Gwon notices the pained expression on her face, wondering if she's recalling some unpleasant memories. Watching her stand before him, Gwon thinks to himself that she makes him thirst for her, and just looking at her evokes a feeling similar to violent impulses. Then, he suggests that he can deal with her cousin if she permits him. However, Choi Jung interjects, saying it's enough tormenting the newlyweds as they leave the cafe. Her cousin calls out to her, asking her to wait because he still has a lot to tell her. She dismisses him, stating that she isn't interested. Still, he persists, asking if she likes him. She firmly clarifies that they are cousins. She is married, and it isn't right for him to contact her to meet alone. He insists that isn't what he meant, but before he can continue, Gwon steps in, questioning why he's staging some kind of dramatic confession scene right in front of her husband. However, Sunwoo stops, backing down with a warning glance. On the way home, she questions why Gwon acts like he has no tomorrow. He replies that living a long life is his goal. As she's about to say something, he mentions her name and she recalls their moment together. She tells him that she doesn't do that with just anyone. She also notes that when her cousin called her name, she felt grossed out and fed up, just like when the chairman does. But when Gwon says it, it feels different. Then she states that he is always different. Gwon, however, reminds her that she was the one who said they should pretend it never happened. She questions what she did, and he responds that she keeps looking at him with those eyes, the kind that makes a person get ideas. Then he reminds her that he let it slide when she kissed him out of shock after being kidnapped. Now, he questions if she isn't scared of him anymore. She affirms that she isn't. His gaze sharpens as he leans in slightly, asking if she still wants to kiss him. When they arrive home, tension lingers between them. As soon as they shut the door behind them, the unspoken pull between them ignites. Afterwards, she falls asleep, and in a dream, she screams, "No!" pushing the colors and brushes away, then tells her mom that she doesn't want to paint. She hates it. She begs her to stop because she can't do this anymore. Her mom, however, explains that she's only doing this because it would be such a waste of her talent. But deep down, Raehwa always knew that this wasn't right. Neither of them could find happiness this way. And yet, no matter how much she regrets it, she can't turn back time. Tears start streaming down her face. Then, in a broken voice, she says she wants to disappear, both herself and her mother. She tells her mom to just vanish, but her mother only responds with a wish. That Raehwa keeps painting because she doesn't want her talent to go to waste. She calls her my little flower. Raehwa jolts awake. Her breath is heavy as she processes the dream. What kind of nightmare was that? She remembers fighting with her mom from time to time, but never with such venom. Did she ever truly hate painting? Was that memory real? Or just some twisted delusion her mind conjured up? Lately, she started painting again, and with everything going on, maybe it's just stress taking its toll. So she admits, it was just a meaningless, bizarre dream. Meanwhile, the Lee Hak-soo family is having a tense discussion. His wife informs him that the chairman plans to step back and leave the management to professionals. He intends to pass on all his wealth to Raehwa, but hand the management over to someone else. However, Lee Hak-soo is unconvinced by his wife's suggestion. She expresses her frustration, noting that they have Sun-woo, who's been educated in management, and pleads with her husband to consider this for the sake of Daesan. He responds affirmatively, but his wife thinks to herself that he's an indecisive man. She then reveals the plan she's been working on. She tells him that Director Park recently contacted them, reminding him that their hotel hosted an exhibit for Ryu Seoryeon in the past. Now, a TV station wants to interview the staff from that event, specifically about Lee Raehwa. Sun-woo, standing up to leave, tells her to inform him if there's anything he needs to do, and his sister follows suit. As they step out of the sitting room, Sun-woo's sister mentions hearing that he visited Raehwa. He confirms it, and she questions why he didn't call her first. He asks if she's still bothering Raehwa, and although guilt is evident on her face, she denies it. She admits that she did a little, but not anymore. She adds that even if she wanted to, she can't because of Gwon. She becomes emotional, blaming Raehwa for always taking what is hers. She explains that she was almost engaged to Gwon, but Raehwa took him away. In tears, she asks why Raehwa gets all the good things. Her brother, trying to get to the heart of the matter, asks if she wants Raehwa out of the picture so she can marry Gwon Itae. She affirms it, and he presses her further, asking if she can handle carrying Gwon Itae's child. Not knowing how to respond, she remains silent. He then tells her to let him know if she can manage that. Meanwhile, at the newlyweds' house, Choi hands Raehwa a drink and asks if the portrait she's holding is of Gwon. She replies that it's a sketch, and Choi compliments her, saying it's really cool. Raehwa asks where Gwon is, and Choi tells her he'll be there soon. He also mentions that May has already arrived, so he decides to check on her. Raehwa notes that she'll be meeting Schmidt and May today, and admits she's feeling nervous. Soon, May appears, complimenting Raehwa's beauty and calling her a jewel. May swiftly climbs to meet her, and as she introduces herself, Choi walks in, looking surprised. He jokingly says that if May greets people like that, she might get reported for her behavior, and adds that she shouldn't show off her lack of social skills. After the lighthearted comment, Raehwa asks if May is with Desert. May confirms and says that she and Schmidt will join the team to protect her. She then asks if she can call Raehwa Ploy because it suits her so well. Choi asks about Schmidt, and May responds that he's discussing something with Gwon, but will arrive soon. Meanwhile, Gwon is busy dealing with a man. He tells the man that he always has to beat him into sense, then reminds Schmidt that he had told him not to bring this baggage to Korea. He questions why Schmidt is here, and Schmidt reveals that he was contacted by Gyeon's parents. Gwon denies having parents, but Schmidt explains that his blood relatives called. He adds that they asked about his marriage and know about Raehwa. Gwon reflects that he can't avoid his parents forever, especially if he wants to stay in Korea by Raehwa's side. He realizes that eventually he'll have to confront them, especially if he wants to be with her. He questions whether Raehwa is worth everything he despised about his past life, wondering if he'll have to face all the things he's always avoided. He then wonders what will happen if she asks for his heart, recalling that she refused to go to Macau. He questions if he likes her enough to stake his entire life on it. Gwon responds that he just can't leave her alone. He explains that since his parents are in Korea, he believes they could finally settle everything once and for all, especially since they're old and should take care of it before it's too late. He wonders why they're still obsessed with him, considering he was the one who killed their son. In a meeting with Raehwa, Schmidt hands her his business card and Gwon explains that no one uses their real name, so he put Schmidt on the card. He tells her to call him Schmidt and assures her that she can now rest easy. He emphasizes that their team of 4 has never failed a mission, though it's the first time they've had to protect just one person. Raehwa thanks him. Later, as she paints in the atelier, Raehwa reflects on how peaceful everything has been since the 4 of them got together, without even the slightest hiccup. She notices that Gwon has been spending more time in the kitchen lately and is looking forward to the dinner he's preparing tonight. As she gazes at her food, her phone beeps with a message from her dad. The message reads, "Always remember, I'm the only one who can protect you. I'll be on TV today. Check it out and call me." Just after, Sunwoo calls. She answers, and he asks if she hasn't seen the TV yet. He tells her to stay away from TV and the internet for a while and not to go out. She immediately turns on the TV and sees a 10th anniversary documentary about Ryu Seoryeon. May's sharp observation of the rumors surrounding Raehwa reflects the harsh reality of the situation. As the TV show airs, her doubts grow, especially when they discuss Raehwa's long slump and her comeback. The accusations of mimicking her mother's artistic signature hit hard, and the suggestion that her mother's death was a suicide adds to the controversy. Watching all this unfold, May thinks it's complete nonsense. Meanwhile, Raehwa faces cruel comments online, painted as a villain who copied her mother's work and caused her demise. Realizing how bad things are getting, May quickly contacts Gwon Itae, seeking his advice on what to do next. She suggests some solutions, but Gwon insists they have a team meeting to handle the situation. Afterward, she calls her father, who questions whether she likes the gift he gave her. In a tense exchange, she tells him she'll never return, but he brushes it off, shifting the conversation to her husband. Ignoring that, she informs him that she'll come home for dinner tonight, and he agrees to leave early to be there. Raehwa, overwhelmed with frustration and pain, destroys her artwork in a fit of anger and then puts everything away. She hurriedly arranges her bag and calls Gwon, demanding that they end their contract. She promises to transfer the remaining 1 billion won and thanks him for everything he's done for her. Gwon, sensing the urgency, questions where she is going and notes that she has taken off her ring. It dawns on her that he can see her through the camera, but she tells him that she is heading back to her family home to the chairman. She adds that it was just a family issue that made her run away. Gwon refuses to let her leave, urging her to stay home and stop with the nonsense. Raehwa insists, explaining that staying will only complicate matters more. She admits she wants to end the contract because she believes Gwon can't protect her. With everything out in the open, including the media frenzy surrounding her, Raehwa fears it will only get worse the longer she endures. Gwon, clearly concerned, asks her to hold on and promises to come right away. When he arrives and opens the door, he finds her crying, and she spills her emotions. She confesses she's been hearing voices and plagued by nightmares of her mom, but she's been pretending nothing's wrong to avoid going back to the psychiatric hospital. She shares that she doesn't want to end up like her mother, living under constant scrutiny. In an emotional outburst, Raehwa reveals that she thought it would be better if she were no longer alive, just like her mom, to make everyone happy, including her father. But then she finds the strength to say that she still wants to live, to keep painting, and that she truly loves flowers. Gwon, moved by her vulnerability, squats to her level and pleads with her not to cry, admitting that he doesn't know what to do when she's upset. He hugs her tightly, offering his support. Sitting on the couch later, Raehwa apologizes for her earlier harsh words, especially for yelling at him to leave. Gwon, however, tells her that saying she doesn't think he can protect her hurts him more than anything she said. He twists their pinky fingers together, a gesture of connection, and assures her that he has never failed a mission before. He promises he will protect her, asking her to trust him. Raehwa, still uncertain, acknowledges that he can protect her, but she worries that the chairman will treat him the same way he treated her. She doesn't want Gwon to suffer, and she expresses her desire to protect him as well. Raehwa reflects on how she has always lived in a small, narrow world, focusing solely on herself. She had been alone for so long that it had felt natural. But one day, Gwon Itae barged into her life, catching her attention and getting on her nerves to the point of anxiety. His presence made her painfully aware of him in ways she never expected. She remembers when he told her she was normal and how she wished everything could have stopped there before his presence became so intense. She wonders if they had cut ties back then, if the excitement and fear wouldn't have escalated to this point. Now, her fear is that Gwon might get hurt while protecting her, so she is determined to protect him too, with all her heart. Even though she knows he is a tough man who no one can bring down, she insists that they end their contract, but he responds that it's the first time someone has said they want to protect him. He finds it amusing and notes that it's actually pretty nice. Raehwa, thinking he's joking about something serious, asks if he also wants to be on TV. Gwon affirms, mentioning that she was already in a documentary, and now he'll be on the 9 o'clock news, becoming just as famous as she is. Raehwa tells him not to be stubborn because the chairman will follow through on his wishes, but Gwon counters that he's also someone who keeps his word. He moves closer to her, and they share a kiss, sealing their emotions in that moment. Afterwards, Gwon reassures her that he will handle the situation. He then reveals a secret he had planned to tell her after she left, but with the current circumstances, he must address what he had abandoned to solve the issue. He gently places the ring back on her finger and expresses his hope that she will continue to treat him the same way in the future as she does now. After Gwon Itae left for South Korea, rumors began circulating that a potential war with North Korea was on the horizon. Desert's reputation as a mercenary group that never failed was solid, and even though Lee Raehwa had offered a ridiculously low $2 billion, the group, despite the amount, agreed to head to South Korea without objection, trusting Gwon's judgment. It was then that Gwon, who had lived a life of sham marriages and hidden secrets, began showing his human side for the first time. He announced that he was now ready to reveal everything he had kept hidden all his life, all because of Raehwa. Gwon's change was palpable, and he apologized to the group. Choi, though, noted that Gwon would no longer be able to continue mercenary work as he was heading back to his family. May, however, was surprised and expressed her desire for them to continue protecting Raehwa, even taking on more jobs. Schmidt, on the other hand, felt there was nothing more for them to do in their current situation. But Gwon disagreed, stating there was indeed something else. He needed them for what was coming next. He revealed that his plan was to take over Daesan E and C. Meanwhile, Secretary Park informed the chairman that the articles he had ordered to be taken down were indeed being removed. The chairman, in disbelief, checked the news himself. The reports revealed that Ilwin Group had officially acknowledged the existence of an illegitimate child, and the chairman realized that Gwon Itae was the one. He was the successor of the Ilwin Group. The group was a major player in the country's economy, leading in fields like advanced semiconductors, smartphone devices, and more. However, despite its dominance, the group clung to an outdated family management system that nearly caused its downfall. The chairman recalled the rumors about the illegitimate child and how it was believed to be Gwon. Sitting on the couch, Raehwa notices that the articles about her have been taken down, replaced with news about Ilwon Group and Gwon. Without hesitation, she quickly calls Choi and requests that he accompany her, as she cannot go out alone. She has something to do. They arrive at KSC Broadcasting Station, drawing surprised stares from onlookers. At the front desk, Raehwa confidently states her identity and requests a meeting with the station's director. Now seated across from the chairman of the broadcasting station, she questions whether he thought she had lost her mind. She notes that he must be surprised to see her so composed. He admits that he is indeed surprised by her unexpected visit. She then gets straight to the point. He had only aired one side of the story. She proposes a counteroffer. Instead of a one-sided documentary, he should air something with better ratings and more buzz. She even offers an exclusive interview. If he refuses, she will simply take her story elsewhere. Though hesitant, he is clearly unsettled. She reassures him that there will be no pressure from Daesan since Gwon will handle it. Convinced, the chairman accepts her proposal. Meanwhile, Gwon arrives at a zero-sum game meeting, coming face-to-face with his father. His father greets him, saying he missed him, but Gwon scoffs, pointing out that his father had been keeping tabs on him all along. He remarks that there's a difference between being watched and choosing to contact them himself. His father, unfazed, states that he is simply glad his son has returned home. The conversation quickly turns to his marriage. Gwon declares that even if he takes over the company, he will not live in the family house. His mother, displeased, questions why he made such a significant decision without their permission. His father, however, gets straight to the real issue. He knows Gwon came back because of Raehwa. He then questions whether Gwon is sure about having children with her, coldly pointing out that mental illness is hereditary. Gwon doesn't flinch. He openly admits that he already suffers from mental illness himself. However, his father sees this as even more reason for him to marry a completely healthy wife. He reminds Gwon that he is Ilwon's only hope, subtly pressuring him to reconsider his choices. The insistence on direct succession stemmed from an obsession tied to the family's genetic disease. Since the first chairman envisioned a dragon ascending, Ilwon had risen to become a leading conglomerate in South Korea. Alongside the business, the hereditary illness had been passed down through generations. They believed that just as the disease was congenital, so too were the wealth and honor commanded by the dragon's energy, both genetically inherent in the direct lineage. Though irrational, this belief had been reinforced by historical outcomes. Gwon Itae's older brother, had been frail from birth and suffered from the inherited disease. He passed away before reaching adulthood, leaving Gwon Itae, who had never been considered family due to his illegitimacy, as the sole direct heir of Ilwon. This shifted the chairman's attitude toward him, and even his stepmother, who once mistreated him, could no longer disregard his presence. Now, facing his father, Gwon bluntly asks if he wants a divorce. His father affirms it. Gwon responds that there is no need for concern. He will divorce her. His father looks doubtful, but Gwon continues, stating that he cannot bring Raehwa into such a family. Instead, he agrees to marry the woman his father chooses, but on one condition. For the next year, his father must not interfere in his affairs. His father, desperate to secure the direct succession, accepts the deal. He declares that the group's glory must continue through their bloodline and that his illness will be cured once Gwon takes over. Gwon, however, sees through him. In his thoughts, he notes that his father is clinging to the shaman's nonsense, desperate to believe in anything that promises a young, healthy body free of genetic disease. Not wanting to entertain the conversation further, Gwon announces that he will take his leave. But before he can walk out, his mother stands abruptly. Her face twists with anger as she hurls insults at him, her voice filled with resentment. She screams that everything should have belonged to her son, Hyun, that Gwon stole it all from him. Unfazed, Gwon turns around, throwing a cold joke about her son. His words cut deep. His stepmother's face contorts with grief and she bursts into tears. After everything that happened, Raehwa thanks Choi Jung as she gets into the car, but her attention is quickly drawn to Gwon Itae, who is waiting for her outside. Seeing him again stirs a mix of emotions within her. She had imagined embracing him the next time they met, but instead, she finds herself questioning his actions. She cannot understand why he would expose such a significant secret for her sake, why he accepted such a small deal despite his background. Gwon Itae does not provide a direct answer, instead pulling her close and kissing her. It is a gesture that says more than words could, leaving Raehwa feeling a deep warmth. When they part, he remarks on his own curiosity about his motivations, but she does not push further. Instead, she simply asks that they return home. At home, Gwon Itae becomes absorbed in the sight of her torn painting. He comments on the lost potential of the artwork, finding it unfortunate that she destroyed it. When she admits that she stopped painting after receiving the chairman's call, he seems almost hurt, remarking that by ruining the painting, she also destroyed him in a way. He reminds her that she once said the painting was of him and expresses disappointment in what she did to it. Then, in a firm yet gentle manner, he encourages her to pick up the brush again and paint him properly this time. Moved by his words, Raehwa promises to create something even better. As they stand together, Gwon Itae pulls her close, his gaze lingering on her with admiration. He tells her how beautiful she looks when she paints, even when she is upset or pushing him away. His words, filled with quiet intensity, draw her in. Later on, they sit together in the bathtub. He watches her quietly and wonders why she doesn't remember him. He recalls a past moment, seeing her in a school uniform, sitting alone by the roadside. He admits that he wasn't the only one who got beaten up and had nowhere to go in the middle of the summer, wandering the streets, lost and alone. The weight of those memories lingers between them. Then, he questions her, whether she went to the psychiatric hospital because of her father. She affirms, confirming his suspicion, and adds that they told her they wouldn't treat her fingers unless she went. Later, she finds herself on TV, her presence there causing a stir. Her cousin is annoyed by the fact that she's the one revealing the truth, refusing to hold back any longer. Meanwhile, Lee Se-yeon and her family have seen the teaser, and ever since then, her mother's been looking worse with each passing day. The tension is thick, and the impact of her revelation is impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Raehwa exchanges pleasantries with the interviewer. When asked about the rumors that she imitates Ryu Seolyeon, she admits that her style is similar because she learned from her mother, but insists that it's definitely different. The interviewer presses her to specify how it differs, and she replies that words can't truly capture it. Instead, she mentions an upcoming exhibition of her paintings at DS Hotel, suggesting that he'll understand better if he sees it for himself. The interviewer is surprised by her response. Meanwhile, Lee Se-yeon eagerly reads a mix of positive and negative comments online about her. Her phone slips from her hand and falls to the floor, and she wonders sadly why someone like Raehwa always seems to steal the spotlight. She calls her brother, asking if he saw the interview and why Raehwa decided to hold it at their mother's hotel. Her brother tells her to calm down and reminds her of their previous discussion. She admits that she remembers, and he asks if she thinks she can go through with it. She pauses, reflecting on the constant humiliation she's endured from Gwon Itae. Though she's reluctant, she tells her brother that she can do it tomorrow if she has to. On a call with her uncle's wife, Raehwa mentions that her mother's past exhibition greatly benefited DS Hotel. The woman questions if she expects something in return for that, and she silently notes that she needs to break her father and Kang Myok. Out loud, she responds that she plans to hold an exhibition, and she believes it would be more mutually beneficial to host it at DS Hotel rather than elsewhere. The hotel is currently in the red, but made a fortune from her mother's exhibition, and she knows a business wouldn't pass up this opportunity over personal feelings. She asks what her uncle's wife thinks, and the woman agrees, saying they should set a date, and her secretary will contact Raehwa. Meanwhile, Schmidt is on security duty today. Walking with him feels awkward to her, as she can make small talk with Choi Jung or May, but not with him. Schmidt signals for her to wait as a car pulls up in front of them. The woman in the car asks if they can talk for a moment. Curious, she asks who she is, and Schmidt informs her that the woman is Gwon's mother. She declines the offer to speak with her. The woman is taken aback by what she just heard. Raehwa calmly explains that she finds it rude for someone to show up unannounced and begin giving orders. She adds that it would have been nice if the woman had at least shown some manners. The woman responds that she had the same thought while watching Raehwa on TV, and notes that she seems quite fearless. Raehwa thanks her for the compliment, though the woman considers it disrespectful. Raehwa then asks where she plans to have the conversation, saying she will make time today. The woman replies that it should be at home, and Raehwa agrees. In the car, Schmidt tells her that things are really nice and easy when she's on their side. She smiles and replies that from now on, he will always be on her side. Then, she asks if he knew the woman before. He explains that there was a time when the woman asked Desert to audit Gwon Itae. Although the case had already been settled, he still passed along bits of information about Gwon when appropriate. But if he refused, they would have simply used another company. Then, he informs her that Gwon is heading their way now, so there's no need for her to be too worried. He also tells her to trust Gwon, no matter what the woman says. Inside the apartment, the woman tells Raehwa not to worry about her husband. He just stepped out and won't return until they're done talking. She reassures her that there's no need for concern. Then, handing over an envelope, she says it's a bit much for someone of Raehwa's status to be speaking about divorce. She asks if Raehwa knows that her entire family is against the marriage. She admits that she has her personal reasons for opposing it. The woman then reveals a painful truth. Gwon Itae has always been strange since he was little, and more importantly, he eliminated her son. Her son, Hyun, spent his life in and out of hospitals, living miserably until he died unresolved. Now, the one she believes to be his murderer has taken over Ilwon Group, married the woman Hyun loved, and claimed everything her son should have had. Her voice trembles with bitterness as she asks how anyone could expect her to live as if nothing happened. She then asks if Raehwa understands why she's doing this, but she remains silent. Enraged by her silence, the woman hurls a teapot at her. Schmidt steps in immediately, preventing any further harm. Just then, a voice cuts through the tension, questioning why she keeps picking on innocent people when she has someone else to vent on. Gwon Itae appears and wraps his arm protectively around her, stating that the so-called murderer has arrived. As the woman continues struggling to cause a scene, she calmly pours water on her. She urges her to calm down and suggests that if she really wants to prove her claims, she should get medical attention and bring direct evidence. Gwon quietly praises her for defending him. Raehwa then suggests they leave, but Schmidt says he needs to change clothes. Gwon apologizes for getting him involved, but he brushes it off, saying he'll borrow some clothes from the staff and tells them to wait. While they wait, Gwon offers Raehwa a cigarette. She politely declines, mentioning that she doesn't smoke. After a short silence, he jokes that she looks like a thug and teases that she should hand over the money because he's going to check all her pockets. The statement feels oddly familiar to her, though she can't quite place why. Then he shares something deeper. He admits that he's a bastard, but not the kind people think. He wasn't born from the chairman's affair. He asks if she's ever heard of a talisman child. He explains that he served as one, a symbolic figure used to absorb misfortune, for his sickly brother. He reveals that Ilwon Group carries a hereditary disease, one that eventually leads to paralysis. His older brother, Gwon Hyun, began showing symptoms of the condition during childhood. Despite astronomical medical costs and every form of treatment money could buy, Hyun's condition did not improve. Eventually, out of desperation, their parents consulted a shaman. The shaman advised them to bring in a scapegoat from outside the family, someone who could serve as a spiritual buffer for the afflicted child. That was when his father and stepmother decided to have a talisman child, a symbolic offering to ward off misfortune. They carefully selected young women who were healthy, beautiful, intelligent, and most importantly, capable of keeping a secret. Artificial insemination was the chosen method, and Gwon Itae was the result. His biological mother initially agreed to hand him over to the Ilwon family. However, after giving birth to him, she changed her mind. She ran away with her son, determined to keep him, but the escape was short-lived. Gwon recalls being only 5 years old when his mother was caught. That was the day he was taken to the Ilwon household, and ever since, he has never seen her again. Surprisingly, after he was brought into the family, Hyun's health started to improve at an unexpected rate. His sudden recovery only deepened their father's obsession with superstitions. The family came to believe that the talisman child had worked, that Gwon's very existence was the reason Hyun could heal. Then, Gwon tells Raehwa about a disturbing event from his past, an incident when he was kidnapped. At the time, Hyun had approached him, saying that their mother had called for him to come inside. He remembers that it had been a scorching day. When they got inside, Hyun told their mother that Gwon smelled something awful. She looked at him coldly and told him to go wash himself. She added that he was filthy. Obediently, he went into the bathroom to clean himself. While scrubbing his body, he also drank the water from the shower. Even now, he remembers feeling like he must do it in that moment, as if compelled by something stronger than him. The memory remains vivid and uncomfortable. Gwon continues his story, revealing the most harrowing chapter of his childhood. That day, as he steps out of the gate to run an errand his brother had asked him to handle, he ends up being kidnapped. What haunts him the most is the realization that his brother had seen everything. He had been standing on the second-floor balcony, watching as the scene unfolded, yet he did nothing. The kidnappers take him to an unknown location. The place is suffocating, hot beyond reason, with no fan or any form of ventilation. Just stale air trapped in the thick summer heat. Despite the fear gripping him, his body doesn't even shiver. The oppressive heat has stolen every sensation but misery. Days pass with him locked inside that room. At night, 2 men come by, not with comfort or kindness, but to toss in a bottle of water and a piece of bread. That's all he gets to survive on. After nearly a month in that terrible place, one of the men snaps. Frustrated that no one has come to rescue the boy, he begins to beat him, shouting his complaints. The other man tries to stop him, warning that if something happens to the boy, if he dies or goes missing for good, it'll be the end for both of them. They argue while Gwon lays there, bruised and half-conscious. It's in that broken moment that he realizes the painful truth. His family has no intention of rescuing him. No one is coming. With that clarity, he gathers what strength he has left and begins to search every corner of the dusty, crumbling warehouse. Eventually, he finds a small crack in the structure. Tiny, but promising. He picks up a shard of broken glass and starts to dig into the dry ground beneath it. Each day, he scratches and carves away at the earth, even though it feels endless. Then, heavy rains come. For days, water seeps into the soil, softening it. His efforts finally pay off as the rain begins to wash the loosened dirt away. The crack widens. His body, now frighteningly thin from weeks of starvation, squeezes through the small space. He emerges into the open, barely alive but free. After wandering endlessly through the dark, unfamiliar streets and enduring a long, painful walk, Gwon finally makes it home. But instead of relief, he's met with a deeper sorrow. As he quietly walks in, he hears their voices. His family sitting together in the comfort of their home. The warmth in the room only makes the distance between him and them more obvious. He listens silently, heart heavy, and soon realizes something dreadful. His stepmother's voice carries clearly as she expresses mild disappointment about what happened to Gwon. She sighs, noting that it's unfortunate, especially since finding a compatible donor is such a difficult task. Unaware that Gwon is already in the house and listening to every word, she lets her guard down and confesses that even though it sounds terrible, the thought of Gwon being a backup organ donor for her son brought her comfort. That's when everything clicks into place for him. All the medical tests, the countless hospital visits, the prodding and poking. They weren't just routine checkups. They were preparation. They had been grooming him as an organ source. His father joins the conversation, dismissing the idea of negotiating with criminals. He says it's not worth it. These words pierce Gwon like a knife, and his stomach churns with disgust. Overwhelmed, he steps outside and stares at them through the window. From the outside looking in, they seem like a perfect family. That's when it hits him. They never hated him because he was an illegitimate child. They despised him because he wasn't a person to them. He was nothing more than a spare part, a walking organ reserve. Anger burns through him. He rummages through the trash outside and finds something. With that in hand, he walks back in. His sudden appearance shocks them. Without a word, he slams the object on the table, causing them to flinch and back away. Then, without hesitation, he serves himself some food and eats. In his mind, he vows to show them exactly what a bug looks like. One that will crawl and gnaw at everything in their perfect little home. He finishes eating, smiles at them coldly, and declares that he'll be back. Returning to the present, he shifts the mood and asks Raehwa if she's bored. Then, trying to lighten the moment, he suggests they talk about something else. But she has something else in mind. With a serious expression, she asks him if he has a weapon. He admits that he does, and she boldly declares that she wants revenge on both his father and his stepmother, and he breaks into a smile. Then he tells her that her anger makes everything he's endured feel like it wasn't in vain. He adds with a chuckle that he feels flattered, but when she insists that she's not joking, he slowly pulls her close. With a low voice, he tells her to kiss him. Before he can say more, she interrupts him and tells him to just do it. And so, they kiss. In the car, Raehwa stares out the window and notes that summer has already arrived. She reflects on how fast time has flown since she entered the contract marriage. A subtle heaviness settles over her as she wonders what will happen once the agreement ends. Gwon, noticing her quiet expression, asks if she has something on her mind. She dismisses it with a simple, nothing, though her thoughts remain unsettled. Deep down, she wonders, will Gwon return to his old, dangerous ways once everything is over? She imagines that if he had been born poor, he might have signed away his life for money without thinking twice. But he's the heir to a vast fortune. His decisions have always carried more weight than desperation. Back at the house, she tells Schmidt to come in. He brings news from Macau. Lujin has sent her something. He explains that Lujin offered to pay for a new painting and even included a rental fee, clearly showing she's a devoted fan. Raehwa opens the package and her heart skips a beat. It's the last painting she created before her hand injury, a piece she never expected to see again. Schmidt then asks if he can pose a question. She nods, giving him the go-ahead. He asks if she believes her memories are truly intact. She replies that she clearly remembers the day her mother died, but he presses further, clarifying that he's asking about what happened before that day. He urges her to think hard about it. Trying to recall, Raehwa suddenly feels her head spinning. The effort to access buried memories is physically overwhelming. Schmidt quickly notices her distress and asks if she's okay, but before she can respond, her legs buckle beneath her. Gwon rushes over and catches her just in time, helping her sit on a nearby chair. His voice hardens as he demands Schmidt explain what he meant. But Schmidt's explanation is vague, and Gwon is growing impatient. With clenched fists, he questions aloud if curiosity is a good enough reason for him to hit Schmidt. But before things escalate, Raehwa gently places her hand on Gwon's arm and tells him she just wants to lie down. Without hesitation, Gwon lifts her and carries her to the bedroom. Lying down, Raehwa voices her concern, wondering aloud if there's something wrong with her memory. Gwon touches her forehead gently and assures her she's perfectly normal. His tone is calm but firm, telling her not to waste energy worrying about nonsense. Raehwa turns slightly and tells Gwon to lie down beside her. Without hesitation, he joins her. His voice softens as he tells her to get some rest, promising to wake her up later. Slowly, she drifts off to sleep beside him. Once he's sure she's asleep, he quietly gets up and steps out to where Schmidt is waiting. His tone turns firm as he reminds Schmidt of his earlier warning, not to ask Raehwa about her memories, especially since they could be connected to deep trauma. But Schmidt doesn't back down. He insists he's staked his entire life on her, so applying a little pressure shouldn't be that harmful. Gwon, clearly displeased, counters that it was his decision to risk everything, not a license to push Raehwa beyond her limit. Schmidt argues that coddling her won't help and says he believes she's strong enough to handle the truth. He doesn't respond, choosing silence over an argument. They both stare at the painting quietly for a while until Schmidt speaks again. He informs him that Choi Jung recently got in touch with someone who used to work at Lee Jung-won's residence, someone who just retired. May did some digging based on that lead and discovered that the man had been secretly recording Ryu Seoryeon the entire time she lived there. Surveillance cameras had captured nearly everything in the house, all without her knowing. He turns to him, eyes narrowing, and asks if there's a chance those recordings could replace what Raehwa can't remember. Schmidt confirms. Yes, that's exactly the possibility. He then asks if there's a way to bribe someone to install new equipment and access the archive. But Schmidt explains that access is tightly controlled. Only Lee Jung-won and his secretary can enter that system, and even something as routine as cleaning is supervised. Hearing that, Gwon comments that it sounds like the chairman's weak spot. If so, he has no choice. He'll have to go there himself. Schmidt questions if he can afford to take that risk, especially with all his responsibilities at Ilwon and his constant role in protecting Raehwa. But he simply says he'll handle it and tells him to get ready. This is going to be a heist. Before turning to leave, Gwon pauses and asks if anything has felt off about Raehwa lately. Schmidt deflects, saying he knows her better than anyone. Still, he insists. If anything happens, Schmidt must inform him right away. Then, pulling out his phone, he shows Schmidt something on the screen. Schmidt's eyes widen in surprise, and he asks if it hasn't surfaced yet. He answers that it hasn't, but it just might be useful when the time comes. As Raehwa scrolls through her phone absent-mindedly, her thoughts drift to Gwon's recent words, that he won't be home for the weekend, so she shouldn't wait up or shed tears because she misses him. She sighs, noting to herself that he's been unusually busy lately. He used to call her often, checking in even during the day. But now the silence feels louder than usual. On impulse, she decides to call him. The phone rings for a few seconds before someone picks up. Only it's not Gwon. It's Lee Se-yeon. Her voice is calm, a little too casual, as she says she picked up the call by mistake. She quickly adds that Gwon is a bit occupied at the moment and that she'll let him know she called. Confused, Raehwa narrows her eyes. Then she asks pointedly why she is answering someone else's phone. Se-yeon replies lightly that they are both busy at the moment, that's why. Raehwa's grip on the phone tightens, a chill slowly creeping into her chest. The answer doesn't sit right with her. She tells her cousin to pass the phone to him, but she declines and states that she will call her later. After that, she tries to calm herself down because it's not the first time her cousin is doing this. However, she concludes that they could be together but decides not to get the wrong idea with just a single call. So she puts a call through to May, and when she picks, she asks if she knows where Gwon is. She responds that he must be working. She asks further if he has any business with her cousin, and May informs her. After that, she requests that May comes over, because she's heading to see Gwon. An hour ago, Lee Se-yeon informed her friend on chat that she is getting married, after which she notes that she's told everyone already that she is marrying into an incredible family, so she doesn't want to delay it any longer, so it has to be a success. Shortly, Gwon is being directed into their living room. They welcome him and offers him an iced chocolate, and he accepts. Then he starts a conversation, and Se-yeon's brother states that he isn't aware that Gwon is with Ilwon's group, but he responds that the guy is very polite, that he thought he'd start swinging as they had a brawl last time they met. The guy ignores and spills that they should go straight to the point, then states that they are willing to collaborate with him. The guy explains that he heard he's been interested in Daesan E and C lately, and he adds that his father holds significant shares, and it could be a decisive swing vote in any management dispute. Gwon questions if his mom is okay with it, and he affirms. Still in the discussion, Gwon feels dizzy and falls on the table, and the guy notes that the new drug gets out of the system fast, so it's hard to find any trace of it if someone is drugged. Then he calls a man to carry Gwon upstairs. When they get there, Lee Se-yeon tells his brother that she is scared, so they should quickly take the pictures. While still suggesting ways to pose, Gwon's phone rings. Loony Beauty is the one calling. Her brother checks the contact and informs her that it's Raehwa. She decides to pick the call, noting that Raehwa can't do anything about it. After answering her, she ends the call and falls happily to the floor. After that, they decide to start with the cheek kiss, but Gwon is already awake. He sits up and states that they haven't done much bad, that they obviously have been raised too well. She hides behind her brother, but shortly they begin to feel dizzy. Her brother questions how Gwon was able to drug them, and he responds that it's a trade secret. Then he tells him to look forward to what happens while he sleeps. The day before everything unravels, Gwon meets with a man in secret. He offers him a generous sum, 10 times more than what the others promised. Along with it, he hands over a mild substance meant only to induce unconsciousness for 10 minutes. He instructs the man to switch it out with whatever concoction they were planning to use on him. Back in the present, Gwon quickly checks in via text to confirm if all surveillance, both video and audio, has been extracted and sent out. The response is affirmative. Just then, Choi Jung reaches out with a warning. Raehwa is headed to him. Gwon, caught off guard, asks why. Choi explains that her cousin answered the call meant for Raehwa, and likely gave her details. Inside the car, Raehwa replays May's earlier words. She remembers being told that Gwon had 2 appointments and that Choi Jung was going to infiltrate the situation, so there shouldn't be any serious complications. Still, a knot of unease tightens in her chest. She knows Lee Se-yeon all too well. Someone willing to go to frightening lengths just to make her suffer. Lee Se-yeon's fixation on Raehwa had always been unsettling. It began with open admiration, laced with a bitter awareness of being second best. She mimicked her outfits, her food choices, even her speech and smallest gestures. But what began as imitation evolved into a consuming desire to strip Raehwa of everything, especially the one thing she couldn't duplicate, the status of being Daesan ENC's only daughter. They arrive, and without wasting a moment, she rushes to where Gwon has been moved. Seeing his state, concern spills from her expression as she asks if he's all right and what happened to her cousins. Choi Jung, who had been waiting nearby, explains that the others are still in the negotiation room. He only managed to bring Gwon out before things spiraled further. As he turns to leave, she insists that Gwon needs medical attention, but Choi says there's nothing more he can do. Her mind races with questions. She asks what exactly happened, and Choi, though hesitant, finally admits that he believes her cousin planned something extreme, that they may have attempted to tie themselves to Gwon in a very permanent way. Her confusion deepens. Choi elaborates, mentioning Il-won's fixation with family lineage. If Gwon's connection to her cousin is proven, the chairman would likely accept Se-yeon immediately as his daughter-in-law. She asks quietly if something had been slipped to him, an enhancer of some sort. He confirms, saying it feels unbearable, as if he's about to lose control. She hesitates, trying to think of how to help, while Gwon watches her, a different thought flickering in his mind. He had intended to make her angry on his behalf, hoping she'd defend him fiercely. But now, seeing her confusion and care, he finds himself strangely amused. The misunderstanding, he figures, might not be so bad after all. Then she tells him to lie down gently, lowers herself beside him, and kisses him, seeking to help the only way she knows how in that moment. Afterwards, May suggests a plan. She mentions that Lee Sunwoo is about to join Daesan E and C, so he can be useful. Also, the siblings gave them good intel this time, so she proposes using Lee Sunwoo as the promotional model. She notices Gwon is absent-minded, calls him back to focus, and tells him to speak up if something is wrong. He says there's no problem, just that Raehwa has been acting strange. May notes that she always does weird things. Schmidt asks if her condition got worse, but Gwon says it's the way she treats him. Lately, every time she makes him a meal, she serves plain rice soaked in cold water. He says he doesn't really care about the details of what's going on. What matters to him is whether she's taking proper care of herself, especially with food. Someone asks if he's done something to hurt her, but he quietly denies it. He starts to say something else, but brushes it off mid-thought, then tells her to repeat what she mentioned earlier about Prepolis. Elsewhere, Raehwa sits with thoughts tangled around her art. Most of the exhibition pieces are in place, but the focal painting remains unfinished. It was meant to be of Gwon, captured while she looked at him. But now, just thinking about painting him feels impossible. In her eyes, he's become unbearable. A few days back, Schmidt had told her something that kept echoing in her mind. Once the contract ends, Gwon has no choice but to return to Desert. Without him, the group would fall apart. He's the glue holding it together. She'd asked for clarity, and Schmidt explained that this wasn't something Gwon could decide against. He's simply someone who's never had the luxury of choosing. That truth stung, because it meant Gwon had already pictured what life would be like without her, while she still hadn't let herself consider that kind of ending. And now she feels bitter, not just about the inevitable future, but that he seemed ready for it while she wasn't. Just then, there's a knock at the door. Gwon's voice follows, saying it's about something she asked and that she should hear him out, even if she's in the middle of something. She opens the door and he gets straight to the point. He's planning to take something. Tomorrow. Something tied to her past. He says he's going to recover the memories her father hid away. Then he asks if she knew her father had kept tabs on her mother constantly, recording everything. Her response is quiet. It's the first time she's heard any of this. When she asks if this is about finding the truth, he confirms it is. But he also tells her there's no need for her to see any of it. They'll go through it and handle it for her, but she doesn't agree to stay out of it. She says she wants to go too. He warns her it's dangerous. Still, she challenges him. Does he even know the place's structure? She points out that the entire space is sealed tight and the staff loyal to the bone. Then she adds something he didn't expect. She has a general idea where the chairman keeps the records. And she isn't done trying to persuade him. On the way to the estate, he quietly slips on a pair of gloves. No trace left behind. That's the rule. He keeps his explanation to her simple and focused. They have just 1 hour to pull it off. Everything has already been arranged by Choi Jung, entry points, access paths, while Mei is set to temporarily shut down all internal surveillance and electronic systems. With that, slipping in and taking what they came for shouldn't take long. He adds confidently that a place like this isn't exactly difficult to rob. After walking for a while, he gestures for her to step back, then scales the wall with ease. She lingers, watching him for a few seconds, before mumbling to herself and heading to the front gate instead. When she finally joins him, he questions the delay. She responds dryly, saying she expected him to toss down a rope or something. He simply tells her that the place is empty. No one's around to worry about. As they move deeper into the property, she can't help but comment on how unchanged everything looks. It's like time never moved. Their destination is the annex, the one her mother used as a studio. She'd braced herself, but the sight of it still hits hard, twisting her stomach with unease. They pause and take each other's hand before she punches in the code to the door. Her mother's birth date. Inside, the room is untouched. Dust may have settled, but the space is frozen exactly as it was. It feels eerie, like the past is still breathing in the corners. Gwon notices something off in her expression and asks if something's wrong. She points to a particular painting. He remarks that it's known as her mother's final work. She agrees, but her voice is troubled. Everything else is exactly how it was a decade ago. But not that painting. It's been moved. Then she adds something more curious. Her father never cared for art. He never collected paintings, never hung them in common spaces, which leaves her unsettled. Why would that specific piece end up in the living room? They turn the house upside down but find nothing of value. No hidden compartments, no strange irregularities. Gwon notes that even during their earlier checks, there hadn't been anything unusual in the main building. With options running low, he suggests they return to the annex for one last try. As they draw closer, she starts feeling unsteady again. He immediately tells her to wait in the car, that he'll go on alone, but she refuses. She says it's something she has to face herself. With a quiet sigh, he pulls her into an embrace, gently warning that if she collapses, he won't hesitate to carry her out. They reach the door and notice the lock has been updated. It's far newer than the rest. She gives the old password a try, but it fails. Then she takes a moment to recall her mother's words, fragments from the past. A thought comes to her. She enters her own birthday. It works. The door clicks open. Inside, they search again. Files, drawers, devices. But when they scan the records, there's a gap. Everything from the year her mother left is missing. Still, she manages to connect a flash drive to the projector, and memories start flooding back. She sees herself younger, standing across from her mother. Her mother's voice trembles with fury and desperation, asking how she could throw everything away. She said she couldn't go on, but her mother wouldn't let it end like that. She pushed her to keep painting. Her mother wasn't gentle. The pressure she applied had nothing to do with love and everything to do with obsession. When Raehwa said she wanted her own life, away from the shadow of her mother's fame, it triggered something deep and dark. Her mother tied her up. Then came the cruelest part. Her mother held up the tabloids and news clippings. Critiques that once sang praises were now full of scorn. They said her work had lost its spark, that it felt like someone else entirely had made it, someone lesser. They speculated that her unraveling mind had ruined her art. Her mother confessed what Raehwa had always feared. She believed it should have been her. The success, the recognition, the brilliance. It should have belonged to her, not her daughter. Without her status as a painter, she saw no point in existing. Raehwa, terrified, had begged her to stop, promised to never rebel again, even vowed to keep painting under her name if that's what it would take. But her mother had already made up her mind. Snapping out of the memory, she strikes the projector in anguish. Gwon catches her hand before she can damage it further. Without a word, he opens it up instead and quietly tells her that if something needs to be destroyed, he'll be the one to do it for her. Gwon tosses a few things aside in a half-hearted rage before they quietly exit through the garden. The very same one her mother once used as both a prison and a sanctuary to mold her into something she never asked to be. Raehwa reflects bitterly. Her mother had always demanded that she play the role of daughter, yet never truly looked at her, never acknowledged her pain. Ever since she ran from that house, she's only longed for someone who could see beyond the surface and truly recognize her. Gwon, without hesitation, rips the painting apart. Then, with fierce sincerity, he tells her that she's the real one. Always has been. Something inside her softens. She admits that she likes him and pleads with him not to go through with the divorce. Just as he's about to answer, a voice interrupts, urging them to get out immediately. They don't wait. They flee. In the car, May is clearly unimpressed. She scolds them for stirring up such a mess and taking their time afterward. Gwon brushes her off with a few curt remarks, then checks Raehwa's forehead. She's burning up. He gently advises her to rest. Sometime later, she stirs awake, and the first thing out of her mouth is a demand for clarity. He's not divorcing her, right? He raises a brow at her timing, but doesn't dodge. Instead, he says he brought food. Still, she insists on the answer first. When she presses for honesty, he finally opens up. He describes himself as a wreck. At 9, he was locked inside a warehouse and left to rot for weeks. The heat fried his brain, and ever since, he hasn't been able to feel like most people do. The only emotion that rings true is the desire to eliminate threats. That drive led him to desert, and later to the red zone. Right now, all he wants is to utterly destroy Lee Jung-won, Lee Se-on, and even her brother. But then he acknowledges she wouldn't want that. Still, he reminds her, he can't feel like she does. Raehwa, ever hopeful, insists that maybe if they stay together, his trauma could ease piece by piece. But he shakes his head. His mission is to protect her, and if they stay married, she'll remain a target for Ilwon. He reveals that he already struck a deal with the old man, to divorce her and work with Ilwon. The news stuns her, but still she protests. There has to be another way. Ilwon can't be all-powerful. He takes her hand and kisses it softly, but then says they must part. She jerks away, stung. Inwardly, she reflects that she's far from normal too. None of them are. But in that chaos, a strange clarity settles over her. She now knows exactly how to paint him. Later that evening, Gwon sits quietly with a drink, lost in a memory. Back in Seongbuk-dong, there was always this wall that cast a long shadow. And there, beneath it, a girl always lingered. He approached her one day. Her guard went up fast. She told him flat out that she had no money. But he never asked for any. Still, every time they met, money came up. She had a bruise on her cheek that day. Another slap, probably. He noticed but didn't ask. Instead, he pulled out a cigarette and offered her one, but only if she told him her name. She agreed, took the cigarette, and then offered him a drink in return. Even then, something fragile and strange had already begun. His phone rings, snapping him out of his thoughts. It's the chairman. The man promises to give Gwon whatever he wants, clearly trying to buy some favor back. But Gwon calmly replies that he has nothing in mind for now, except that the chairman should keep a low profile until Raehwa's exhibition concludes. The old man agrees without complaint. Gwon then says he's busy and tells him to call again the next day at lunchtime, but he warns he might not pick up. After hanging up, Gwon notes to himself that they have the video now, which means the chairman's claws have been clipped. He briefly considers using the footage, then quietly hopes that there are no more tragic stories for the public to devour about Raehwa. Soon after, he overhears some people chatting about the exhibition's ticket prices on TicketBite. They mention that the price has skyrocketed to 7 times what it was on opening day. Gwon smirks. The exhibition is clearly a massive success. A few weeks later, the exhibition officially opens. But since their conversation about the divorce, Gwon has kept his distance. He hasn't been able to face her. He's left her protection entirely in Desert's hands. This is the first time he's seeing her final works in full. One painting in particular holds him still. It's supposed to be a portrait of him. He stares at the piece, abstract and intense, and wonders if this is really how she sees him. Something so grand, so overwhelming. As he listens in on nearby conversations, some guests debate the piece. They say Ryu Seolyeon's works were always known for their eerie undertones, but this one is more striking than unsettling. They argue over the title. Why call it a portrait when it's completely abstract? One concludes that maybe it's a conceptual blend of tradition and modernity. Another boldly states that Raehwa might already be on the same level as Madame Ryu, or even surpassing her. Meanwhile, Raehwa walks through the crowd. News reporters buzz around her, trying to get a shot or a comment. She remains poised. Then she meets with Lu Jin, the same man who once offered her an extravagant escape to Macau. From a distance, Gwon watches them. She's smiling at Lu Jin, and something about that smile unsettles him deeply. Maybe it's because of the painting. Maybe it's more. But it gnaws at him all the same. Later that evening, Gwon arrives home, but Raehwa isn't there. Confused, he checks her location. The GPS indicates she should be home. He frowns and immediately calls Choi Jung to ask about her whereabouts. Choi clarifies that he wasn't the one who escorted her. May took her instead. But the GPS still shows her at the penthouse. Something doesn't feel right. He wonders if the ring's GPS is malfunctioning, and more importantly, what she was like the last time Choi saw her. His voice sharpens as he tells Choi to find out exactly where Lu Jin is, right now. An hour before the exhibition, Raehwa exchanges pleasantries with Lu Jin. The two engage in light conversation, and Raehwa inquires about Lu Jin's background. Lu Jin answers, revealing that her father is Korean, who once ran a flower shop, and her mother fell for him and relentlessly pursued him. Then, in a more intimate tone, Lu Jin whispers, if Raehwa is her mother's proxy artist. Raehwa stays quiet, staring at the lady. Finally, Lu Jin responds, acknowledging her suspicions. She confesses that it might sound silly, but as a businesswoman, she sometimes relies on intuition. And when she saw Raehwa's painting, she knew the truth. She is the true artist. She affirms, confirming that she indeed did the paintings except for her mother's final piece. She explains that it wasn't exactly a secret. She had always planned to reveal the truth at the right time. Lu Jin expresses admiration, revealing she has been a longtime fan and offers to help in any way she can. Raehwa, hesitant but resolute, suggests that Lu Jin paint something for her in exchange for hiding her from Gwon for a while. Lu Jin expresses surprise, admitting that she's heard of him and that a close acquaintance of hers worked with him. She then gently asks if Raehwa is trying to find a safe way to part ways. Raehwa responds that she doesn't plan on divorcing, but the situation is complicated and hard to explain. Lu Jin agrees to help but warns that it won't be easy to keep Gwon away. As the evening settles in, May comments on the fresh air of Gangwon-do, and Raehwa, deeply thankful for her assistance, expresses her gratitude for helping her run away. May asks if Raehwa is sure about her decision, reminding her that Gwon can be dangerous when angry. Raehwa, though still uncertain about everything, reassures her that she is sure and will explain everything later. May, still excited by the unfolding drama, responds that she doesn't fully understand what's going on, but finds it thrilling nonetheless. Gwon arrives in the Yeonhwa-dong School District, determined to find Raehwa. He informs the guards that he's there to see Lu Jin, and they lead him to her. Upon meeting, Lu Jin remarks that she's heard plenty about him, but this is their first time meeting in person. She casually asks if he knows how to play mahjong, suggesting they chat over a game, but Gwon interrupts by scattering the tiles with his foot. He then tells her to embrace Korean culture while she's in Korea, offering a game of Yut instead. But by now, he's surrounded by men armed with weapons. Gwon takes a glance at the armed men and comments dryly, but Lujin retorts that he's in no position to talk. Undeterred, he draws his own weapon, claiming it's for self-defense. He then challenges her, asking why she's stealing other people's wives. Lujin responds, questioning why he's going to such lengths for someone who doesn't want him. Gwon, recalling their last interaction, insists that he just wants to see her face and will leave if she doesn't want him there. Meanwhile, Raehwa is on the balcony, enjoying the cool night breeze when a car pulls up. Surprised to see Gwon, she is informed by Mei of his arrival. Raehwa tells Mei she will meet him and talk, reassuring her to call if Gwon causes any trouble, and she'll deal with him. As they talk, Gwon questions if she's really settling for a shabby villa in exchange for her paintings. He disparages Lujin, calling her a complete scammer, and expresses his frustration at being tied up because of Raehwa. He pleads for her to let him go, but she refuses, explaining that it's the only condition under which she'll meet him alone. He then compliments her exhibition paintings, calling them the best art he's ever seen, and she thanks him. Gwon, teasingly, says he has a killer compliment for her and invites her to come closer. When she does, he gives her a quick peck. He asks again if she will come home with him, but she refuses. Gwon presses her, asking why, and she responds that it's because she plans to completely break up with him. Gwon, shocked, asks if she can live without him. Raehwa affirms that she can. He tries to persuade her, reminding her that their contract isn't over and she's still in danger. Raehwa insists that divorcing him will stop the Ilwan group from bothering her. He warns her that her father will come back, but Raehwa calmly replies that Lujin can protect her, and if things get worse, she'll move to Macau. He questions why she would follow Lujin to a place where she knows no one, but Raehwa reassures him that Mei will accompany her. Gwon, frustrated, tells her he can free himself, wreck the whole place, and take her with him. He asks why she's making things so complicated and if she thinks avoiding problems will help. He tells her to talk to him and not run away if she has a problem, but Raehwa, determined, asks him the same question. Can he live without her? Raehwa, with a mix of determination and vulnerability, tells Gwon that if he can live without her, then they should divorce and she'll find someone else. But as she continues, her voice softens, and she admits that just talking about it makes her realize how painful it would be to live alone. She envisions him returning to his dangerous life, fighting for his survival, too busy to think about her, while she, no matter where she goes or what she does, would always think of him. His jokes would haunt her, and she would constantly worry about his well-being. She wanted him to experience a day without her, to understand what it felt like. She had tried to disappear for a few days, but he found her in half a day. With a resigned sigh, she tells him that he at least owes her an answer to her question. Gwon, hearing her words, realizes that he never truly thought deeply about their relationship. He never imagined how hard it would be for her to consider a future without him. He hadn't understood how precious she had become to him, how much he had come to depend on her, until he frantically searched for her in half a day. For the first time in his life, he admits that he has found someone he can't afford to lose. He confesses that he couldn't justify staying married to her because of the risks, and he believed divorce was the only way to keep her safe. But now, he says firmly, he won't divorce her. He tells her that they either survive together or they die together. Then, with a sigh, he admits the chaos he felt when he first saw Lujin, the impulse to wreck everything, but he held back because he needed to find her. Raehwa, moved by his words, hugs him tightly. Their emotions pour out as they kiss, the tension between them dissolving. Gwon unties his hands and they share an intimate moment, their connection deepening as they finally face their feelings for each other. While driving, Gwon finds himself lost in a swirl of memories. He recalls how meeting Raehwa back then was never an easy task. Even though he passed through the alleyway every day like clockwork, their encounters were rare, only once a week, if that. Each time they met, she would always reach out her hand, expecting him to offer her the same thing, as though it was a part of their unspoken routine. But there was something about her that lingered in his mind. His thoughts shift to an incident involving his brother, Hyun. Around the time he was meeting Raehwa, Hyun's condition had worsened. In a desperate attempt to find a solution, the chairman and his wife turned to a shaman, who suggested that a bride could save him. Among the many candidates considered for this unusual and crucial role was Lee Si-yeon, a woman from DS Hotel. Although her family wasn't as prestigious as Ilwan's, they were wealthy and ambitious, hoping to marry their daughter to the Ilwan heir. Gwon wasn't bothered by the talk of their engagement, but his brother Hyun always had to make things his business. He told his family that he wants to marry Daesan ENC's daughter instead of Lee Se-yeon and that she would be perfect for an engagement. He talked about her always sitting under the wall after getting beaten at home, then suggested that they pair Lee Se-on with Gwon instead. Meanwhile, Gwon wonders how his brother found out that he was meeting Raehwa, what she did to deserve such treatment, and he felt a burning rage. He noted that what he found beautiful and precious was the same in others' eyes, and anyone could covet and try to ruin her. Realizing that, he found himself standing before Hyun's door. He teed him to stop bothering her because she got nothing to do with him, but his brother didn't see it that way. So he stayed that there's nothing bad about her getting engaged to Ilwon's heir, and he adds that Daesan's just a mid-sized construction company. Then Gwon asked why Dying Guy was getting engaged, and he responded that he will get better if he does, and if not, there's always another way. Which was sacrificing blood to ward off evil, and Gwon was to be used for organ transplant. Gwon explains to Raehwa that the opportunity had come suddenly. His brother's condition had deteriorated so much that a single seizure could kill him if not treated within a minute. One day, while they were alone, Hyun had pleaded for help. But Gwon told him plainly, beepers and medicines wouldn't save him. Then, looking Raehwa in the eyes, he admits that it was self-defense. He had overheard everything. The plans for a secret surgery, the whispers about harvesting his organs. If he hadn't acted first, he would have ended up unalive. After that, hell broke loose. The chairman, in a shocking turn, named Gwon the heir. The madam lost her mind. Everything flipped upside down. Gwon then confesses something else. He calls himself a fake. A bastard desperate to become the real deal. And then he laughs, asking her if it isn't ridiculous. He tells her that the snake tattoo on his body is a reminder of that very thing, a symbol of what he is and what he wishes to become. Raehwa responds gently. She recalls something she once read in a book, that for a serpent to become a dragon, the person it meets during its ascension is crucial. If that person calls it a snake, then a snake it remains. But if they call it a dragon, then it becomes a dragon. Gwon is stunned into stillness as she finishes. She places her hand over his and says with quiet certainty that he is the only dragon in Ilwon. She warns him not to be deceived by the snakes pretending to be more. They're not the real deal. He is. But Gwon doesn't let the warmth linger too long. He tells her that he intends to take down Daesan E and C next, then DS Hotel, and finally, Ilwon. That last one, though, will take time. 10 years at least. Not because he lacks the ability, but because someone refuses to grant a divorce. And for her safety, he had to change his entire plan. Everything got more complicated. Still, he reassures her. He's taken care of what needs to be done, and the rest is already in motion. Meanwhile, at Ilwon, the madam announces her presence to the chairman. Wasting no time, she cuts to the chase. She reminds him that Gwon plans to interfere with Pre-Palace in the new city. That makes them allies with a common enemy. The chairman eyes her warily and asks if she's simply trying to use his hand for her revenge. Without hesitation, she nods. She offers him inside information on Pre-Palace in exchange for one thing. He must eliminate Gwon for her. It had been 2 days since her return, yet the stillness in the house offers no sense of rest. Gwon, absorbed in his own battles, had become even harder to reach. She considers calling him more than once, but always stopped just short, letting silence answer for her. Then, a call comes. The number is unregistered, but his voice was familiar. He speaks gently, as if testing the air between them, the sort of tone one uses to justify a presence no longer welcome. She listens, guarded, and though the words dances around concern, her thoughts are elsewhere, toward the quiet ache of childhood, to memories she'd never invited back, but that often returns anyway. The sting under her fingernails, the sharp chill of betrayal, the silence of love that never protected. She asks if he had ever truly cared, wonders aloud in her own way whether regret had ever been his companion. His answers are laced with the kind of sorrow that comes from years too late, full of wishes and the impossible desire to undo what's already shaped a life. There is a talk of meeting, of final conversations, of things left in his name that she wants nothing to do with. Her refusal is calm, but firm. The past had taken enough. She won't let its shadow follow her into the life she is finally beginning to own. Still, he asks for one moment. Just one. And when he speaks of leaving, truly leaving, it pulls something sharp from her. She warns him, not with threats, but with memory, not to make the same mistake her mother had. And after a pause, she told him she would consider it. When the line goes dead, she sits unmoving. The stillness echoes back at her that she realizes it. She had sounded like Gwon. An hour earlier, the team gathered in a tense meeting, their minds focused on the shifting dynamics. Schmidt voiced his concerns, pointing out that Gwon's mother meeting with Daesan's chairman was a troubling development. It was a clear sign that she was likely trying to broker a deal about Propolis, something that could significantly alter their plans. Choi Jung, ever the skeptic, noted that they had all worked tirelessly to gather their intelligence, and now someone had leaked it. The group fell silent for a moment, the weight of the revelation sinking in. May, eyes glued to her computer, quickly confirmed that if Lee Jung-won got wind of this, it could derail everything they had worked for. Gwon's gaze sharpened, and without missing a beat, he suggested they strike first, to launch an aggressive move on the Propolis issue before it could be manipulated further. Choi disagreed, arguing that it wasn't the right time. They needed to build up more leverage before going public. But Gwon, sensing the urgency, responded firmly. Delaying any longer would be disastrous. May, already on her computer, nodded, confirming she was handling the situation. Gwon turned his attention to another matter, asking about the progress with Lujin. Choi, always curious, asked if Lujin had agreed to the 30 billion offer, but Schmidt answered with a more promising figure, 60 billion. The room buzzed with excitement at the prospect. However, Schmidt added that Lujin had made a request to meet Raehwa during her visits to Korea, to get to know her better. This immediately dampened Gwon's mood. He was visibly displeased, questioning why Lujin seemed so fixated on Raehwa, a woman he had come to hold close. While the others left with May to contact the media, Gwon remained behind, his mind racing with calculations. His promises to himself, to join Ilwon and take down Daesan, were unfolding step by step. First, he had set up a paper company to secure funds for his own use. With the Propolis issue gaining attention, it was the perfect time to act. He planned to use the funds and cash from Lujin to buy decent stock as its value plummeted, ensuring they could gain enough shares to dominate the upcoming shareholder meeting. With this move, they would be able to oust Lee Jung-won from Daesan's management for good. Gwon placed a call to the DS Hotel chairman's wife, his tone steady but authoritative. He informed her that the plan was going into motion today and that she should be on standby to buy the stocks as soon as they hit their target price. He then asked if she had any questions, and her voice trembled with desperation. She pleaded with him to spare DS Hotel and her family, but Gwon remained unmoved, coolly responding that whether or not he would consider her request depended entirely on how her children behaved. Despite her plea, he had no intention of letting up. Raehwa scrolls through her phone, her gaze stopping on the breaking news headline about the chairman's arrest for violating the Serious Accidents Punishment Act. A heavy feeling settles in her chest as she processes the gravity of the situation. Her phone buzzes with a message from Gwon, updating her on the ongoing developments. Before she can digest it, a call interrupts her thoughts. It's Park, his voice tense and urgent. He tells her she needs to come home immediately. Despite her previous decision to cut ties, he insists, explaining that the chairman is critically ill and undergoing emergency surgery. He mentions that they found him too late, and the doctors are unsure of his chances. Park reveals that the chairman had attempted suicide at home, likely in response to the things she had said to him. Raehwa feels the weight of his words. She remains quiet for a moment, allowing herself to process the shock before Park continues, stressing that it might be the end. He explains that the chairman left a written directive not to receive life support, but that they need her consent as his family to stop the medical care. Park urges her to consider it her final duty as a family member. Despite the bitterness and resentment that floods her at the mention of family, Raehwa knows what must be done. She agrees to meet him. With a heavy heart, she ends the call and hurries out of her room. As she steps into the hallway, she sees two men standing nearby. She asks them if they are the bodyguards assigned to her, and they confirm they are from Desert. One of them asks if she needs anything. Without hesitation, Raehwa tells them she needs to go to Ilwon's General Hospital. They exchange concerned looks, warning her that it's dangerous, but she is resolute. She understands the risks, yet she insists on going. They prepare the car and she follows them out. They arrive at the hospital. As Raehwa walks through the corridors, she notices the change in Mr. Park. His face, once firm and composed, now shows the signs of age and exhaustion. He's a different man from the one she used to know, but one thing remains unchanged: his grip on power and control. The bodyguards follow closely behind, but Mr. Park turns to them. He tells them to stay back. He explains that the family needs their final moments in private. With that, he steps forward and shuts the door, cutting off any chance of interference. Raehwa stands there, seething with frustration. She's come to terms with so much, but this is where she draws the line. She can no longer tolerate the manipulation and control. She questions what the chairman thinks he's doing, challenging him for overstepping. She demands to know how he could continue lying about someone's life, even though she's spent so long trying to escape his influence. He counters and tells her that everything she has, the talent, the ability to draw, was passed down to her by her mother. He credits her mother for nurturing those skills and shaping her into who she is, calling her a remnant of the woman who birthed her. He accuses her of dishonoring her mother by rejecting this fact, refusing to acknowledge the bond they shared. Raehwa feels her heart tighten at his words, but she doesn't let it show. His words may sting, but they are not enough to make her falter. Then he says something chilling. He should have made things clear back then. He confesses that he should have eliminated her. He vows not to make the same mistake twice. In an instant, Park pulls a syringe from his pocket, his intentions unmistakable. Raehwa, undeterred, draws a weapon from her own possession, surprising her father with the cold steel in her hand. His eyes widen with shock, but she remains unfazed as she speaks. She asks him if he truly believes she would continue to do nothing, forever crying in silence. He questions where she picked up such behavior, to which she replies with unwavering confidence that it was her husband who taught her. Raehwa listens to her father's words, but she cuts through his justifications, telling him that no matter how he tries to justify it, she is the one who painted those pictures, and Ryu Seolyeon had just been using her. She tells him to stop tormenting her. He responds by stating that she couldn't reach her husband on the way here, that she once thought he could fix anything. But he is human. He coldly adds that Gwon is probably unalive or seriously injured, which is why she hasn't heard from him. In a burst of fury, Raehwa reacts, using her weapon on him. Park tries to use the syringe on her, but Gwon's voice cuts through the tension, calling out to her. He carries her in his arms while her father tries to say something. Gwon tells Mei to prepare the medical team, but when she informs him they are still on site, he becomes even more anxious. He gently places Raehwa down, tears rolling down his face as he hugs her. She reassures him, telling him she is fine and Park didn't manage to inject her. Gwon admits that he hadn't cried since his childhood, when he begged for his life. He then confesses that he likes her and can't live without her. She smiles, asking him to say it again, but he refuses. Instead, she tells him to kiss her, and they share a kiss. Gwon vows that he will never let her go, and if she wants to break up with him, she'll have to eliminate him first. They arrive home, and without wasting time, they kiss each other. The warmth lingers between them when she softly urges him to say he loves her again. He reminds her that he already said it earlier, but she insists. He gives in and says it once more, making her smile as they fall into a hug. While holding her close, he suddenly wonders aloud if they should get married. His tone is light, but serious. He adds that if she wants a big celebration, they can even broadcast it live for the entire world to see. But if she prefers something quiet, they could just invite the desert crew, or not invite anyone at all, if that's what she wants. She agrees, her expression touched and sure. Without another word, he lifts her in his arms and carries her to the bed. As he lays her down, she teases him about being younger. With a slight smirk, he points out that there's only a 1-year difference between them. Then his expression turns thoughtful as he brings up the idea of having a baby. He explains that if they have one, it will be something that binds them together forever. The suggestion catches her off guard and she stares at him, surprised. But after a pause, she responds with quiet determination that she wants to try. Their eyes lock, and the moment deepens as they move into intimacy. Afterwards, she questions what happened to the chairman. He assures her that the man is still breathing, adding that he can take care of him whenever he chooses. Then he shifts the topic and asks what she wants to do with Ryu Seolyeon's video. She replies that they should stick to the original plan and release it. He spills that everyone is going to see how much he suffered and that people will gossip about it for ages. Then he states that they can still take down Daesan without making those videos public, but she insists that he release them. She explains that Ryu Seolyeon needs to lose her value so she can start working on the next step, and he agrees. She suggests that they watch the video now, believing it might jog some more memories. After that, he meets Mr. Park. He asks to confirm whether the world really has become a convenient place. The man ignores the question and instead requests a cigarette. He tells him that it's a bit of a problem. He explains that he has quit smoking and that if the man lights up now, the smell will stick to him. And that's not good for someone trying to have a baby. Then he grabs a chair and sits next to him, stating that he's been locked up here for 10 days now. so he advises him to think it over again, pointing out that while it might be tough to eliminate Lee Jung-hwan, it will be easy to eliminate him. The man then says that the both of them are identical. He affirms this and states that the chairman is crazy about Ryu Seol-yeon, while he himself is crazy about Lee Raehwa. Then he spills that when two lunatics clash, the crazier one always wins. He continues, pointing out that Mr. Park has seen the chairman up close, so he knows well enough that the man will do whatever it takes, no matter the cost. But then he states, with a calm yet chilling certainty, that he himself is an even bigger bastard than the chairman. Mr. Park, still watching him, asks what exactly he wants. He responds that at first, he wanted to eliminate him. However, after thinking it through, he decided it would be far better to keep him alive and lock him up for life, because that to him is a far worse kind of hell. Then he tells him plainly to report all the insider information about the construction materials scandal. If he does that, there's a chance he might walk out of this in one piece. Afterwards, Raehwa is scrolling through her phone. As she reads, she comes across information revealing that Gwon's mother is the chairman of the foundation that owns Ilwon Hospital. It's something she had asked Gwon about the previous night. She had questioned how he knew she was in the chairman's hospital room, and he had told her that he was there too. He explained that he made a deal with the old man, offering his own organs for transplant. But things escalated quickly. They dragged him straight to the operating room, saying the transplant had to happen immediately. He had gone on to explain that he had already prepared a double agent who could switch places with him. However, as soon as the offer was accepted, his bodyguards rushed in. He added that the fact they had already prepared the operating room in advance showed some serious obsession. At that, she immediately asks if he's hurt. He assures her that he's completely fine and adds that Mei and Choi Jung helped clear the way for him. They're also the ones who tipped him off that she went to Lee Jung-hwan's room. Then he remarks that the chairman is going to get exactly what's coming to him soon, and that he personally sentences the defendant to 35 years in prison. The chairman receives a prison sentence. Although the testimony of those present at the scene plays a role, the deciding factor comes from a high-ranking executive at Daesan E and C who turns whistleblower. With powerful, unidentified executives revealing the extent of deep-rooted corruption, the chairman has no choice but to face a heavy sentence. His management rights are stripped from him and handed over to someone he has never even met before. Raehwa, aware of the chairman's character and pride, notes that this outcome is nothing short of a living hell for him. Meanwhile, in a quiet cafe, Gwon sits listening to snippets of conversation from nearby tables. People are talking about Raehwa. They mention that she's holding another exhibition soon. They recall what happened during the last one and begin considering whether to buy tickets for the upcoming event. Raehwa has become the talk of the town. In the past, people gossiped that she inherited Ryu Seol-yeon's talent, beauty, and privileged background. But ever since the scandal surrounding Daesan E and C broke out, public interest in her has intensified. The gossip about her only grew louder, and that in turn drew even more attention to her exhibition. And when the exhibition eventually wrapped up successfully, the public began to wait for her next appearance in the media. However, despite all the speculation and anticipation, she remains completely out of the public eye. Gwon serves her a meal as he gently asks if she's awake. He informs her that paparazzi are tailing her again. They're crowding around the front entrance, all hoping to catch a shot of her. She tells him to let them be. When the truth about the chairman and Ryu Seol-yeon finally comes out, they'll need those reporters to cover it properly. She says she'll send them a gift and politely ask them to leave. Gwon looks at her quietly, then pulls her into a hug. He remarks that she used to freak out at the mere mention of Lee Jung-hwan, but now she isn't even flinching. She smirks and tells him not to make her flinch with something else. Without hesitation, he lifts her into his arms and carries her to the bed. He says something that makes her laugh. Gwon watches her with quiet joy. It's the smile he's longed to see. Day after day. A rush of memories floods in. He remembers how he used to run every single day just to see her face. He recalls the day his brother became unalive, after being beaten senseless by their stepmother. On that day, he ran straight to the alley where Raehwa was. He'd been surprised to see that she was also hurt, but he'd told her that his bruises were nothing. Then he noticed her tears and asked why she was crying. She'd replied that there was someone she really didn't like, the one who hit her all day. Gwon can tell it's her family member, just like himself. He tells her he will eliminate them for her, but instead of being happy, she cries. She then tells him to meet her again the next day. He asks for her number, but she doesn't have a phone. The next day, Raehwa doesn't show up. He later finds out that it was the day Ryu Seol-yeon became unalive. Raehwa never returns to the alley, and that's when he realizes he's lost her forever. Afterwards, he flees overseas, running away from the old man's expectations. He ends up with Desert, living every day on the edge, constantly in danger. Yet, in those moments where he's close to death, it's always Raehwa's face that appears in his mind. He thought he didn't care if he became unalive, but it's only when he's on the brink of death that he finds his reason to live. He wants to see Raehwa again. May helps him track down where she's living. He hears she's hiring a bodyguard in Korea. Through May, he feeds her information that makes it easy for her to choose him. He pretends he's visiting Korea for money and acts like he's seeing her for the first time. Finally, he reclaims what was always his. Now, he affirms that she is his, just as he is hers. Unlike before, when he couldn't do anything, he notes that he can now protect her. Later, Gwon's stepmother reflects on how flawless her plan was. She had convinced her husband to block Gwon's funding just as he was about to buy the stocks. While Gwon scrambles to fill the financial hole, she plans to use Lee Jung-won to eliminate Raehwa at the hospital. Afterward, she'll hand Raehwa over to her husband, leaving him to decide whether to take her organs or deal with her however he chooses. She's stunned by the announcement that the chairman will step down. She believes the position is rightfully hers, that she earned it by bearing her son. The promise between her and her husband was a give and take. And now, she thinks, Gwon has made her husband betray her. She recalls a moment from the past, thinking she shouldn't have ever let him into their family. She notes that he took her son, and now he's coming for Il-won too. She tried her best to get rid of him back then, but she couldn't. When she sees Gwon's father, she questions how he could abandon her for Gwon. He informs her that he's rescheduled the transplant surgery and that he'll finally be cured once he gets the transplant. She argues that it was supposed to be for her son. He reminds her that her son is no longer alive. She questions how he could say that, but he simply replies that if he really cared about their son, he would have forcefully taken what he needed from Gwon. He counters that if it were that easy, Gwon wouldn't have been born with the fate of Il-won's dragon. She finds more faults, then accuses him of making her life a living hell by deciding that Gwon should inherit everything. She adds that the least he could have done was not take the chairman's position from her. He responds that someone has to take responsibility. He then asks why she tried to eliminate him, explaining that Gwon has so much to do, from the organ transplant to taking over Il-won. He questions what they would have done if the incident had cost them his organs forever. She still doesn't understand him, so he finally spills that it was her who messed up the plan. He questions why she did things she wasn't told to do, and she replies that she dedicated her entire life, believing that serving him meant serving Il-won. Now, she feels he's throwing her away. He responds that staying on the same page with him would have given her the right to remain in Il-won. In a burst of frustration, she pushes him away and he falls, hurting himself. But as she's about to celebrate, Gwon suddenly questions what's going on. He comments on the fact that she didn't call for help in such a situation, then concludes that she is just like him now. The woman demands to know why he's in her house. He replies that the old man called him over, then adds with a smirk that something pretty fun seems to be going on here. She orders them to hand over the camera to her, but he calmly tells her there's nothing she can do. He warns her not to cause a scene and asks if she really wants to end up in prison. She wonders aloud if he's letting her off the hook, and he tells her that he might, if she gives him what the old man was planning to offer him. Then he thanks her for cutting off his funds, sarcastically adding that he's now about to lose Daesan, which was almost within his grasp. He admits he's going to need a lot of money, but shrugs off where it comes from, whether it's the old man or someone else. He tells her this is her shot. She's devoted her whole life to Il-won, so why not take it? He urges her to think it over and get back to him. Later, Schmidt comments that everything should be in place. He adds that Lee Jung-won took care of Mr. Park. Gwon agrees, saying that's what happens to traitors, and mocks how Mr. Park had done his best as Jung-won's lapdog. Smiling to himself, Gwon thinks that a house full of employees and CCTV was no match for May. Hacking into it was child's play for her. The moment they spot his stepmother and Raehwa's father, they rush over. Gwon remarks that there's no way out for her now except to accept his deal. Then he asks to head home, quietly admitting to himself that he misses Raehwa. When he arrives, he softly calls her name. Raehwa, surprised, says she thought he wouldn't be back until dawn. Without a word, he sweeps her up into his arms. She asks what's going on, and he fills her in on what happened earlier, then adds that he's got some good news, something he'll share with her in the bedroom. As he holds her close, he thinks to himself that she didn't smile even when Lee Jung-won went down. So he's not sure whether this will bring her joy. Still, he hopes that what makes him happy will make her happy too. He tells her the good news and she considers it great. Perfect even. Then she asks what will happen to Ilwon. Gwon replies that if things don't go as planned, his stepmother will probably take over. She seemed a bit off when they met, but she knows everything about Ilwon's finances. However, if things go according to plan, he'll be the one to take over. Raehwa hopes it works out as planned, then casually mentions that she put on some soup. As they sit at the dining table eating together, she opens up. She says that as a kid, she always found the scene of families eating dinner together fascinating, everyone chatting away about their day. That's when she realized that in other homes, people actually talk to each other. She used to wonder why they laughed while eating. She smiles a little and says that him talking about his day just now made her feel like they're in one of those scenes. He takes her hand and decides, right then, to start telling her about his day every day. She looks at him and asks if he's ever thought it was sad that their families weren't like others. He hums thoughtfully and admits that if he'd wanted to live like everyone else, he probably would have stayed in Korea. But he's never really thought about how he wants to live. All he's ever done is control his impulses and deal with whatever comes his way. Then he says he had never imagined a peaceful future, where he eats meals with someone, hangs out until they fall asleep together. But now he has that with her. He adds with a small laugh that it's a little cheesy, like they're playing house. She gently nudges him and replies that everyone lives like that, and it's normal. He makes the promise quietly in his heart. If staying together forever is what she wants, then that's exactly what they'll do. Later, after they finish their meal, something shifts. She picks up the remote and turns on the TV. A video plays, one where she's painting with unusual intensity. There's a quiet reverence in her posture, a kind of urgency in every brushstroke. She watches it with him, then glances his way, as if waiting for recognition. He studies the painting on screen. A boy, caught under golden light. A memory begins to stir, faint at first, then sharper. The wall, the alley, the girl who used to wait. Understanding dawns on both of them at once. She explains without words. Through a look, a small nod. This painting wasn't just a project. It was a memory, a connection. A piece of the past neither of them fully understood until now. He responds with stillness, then quiet gratitude. He hadn't meant to forget, but remembering now feels like something sacred, something worth all the time they lost. She offers a small idea then, unexpected but thoughtful. A gesture to reclaim the past. A tattoo, like his. Not to relive the pain, but to change its meaning. He's surprised. Touched. For a moment, he wonders why she's so worried about him. It shows. In the crease between her brows. In the way she avoids his eyes after saying it. He doesn't know what's normal, but her concern settles somewhere deep inside him. Warm and strange. The television hums in the background, disrupting the quiet moment. Together, they agree to turn it off. The room softens. He lifts her gently and carries her away. Not long after, Schmidt delivers an update. Cha Min-young, Gwon's stepmother, had reached out. She was willing to offer another $5 billion on top of the 50 already laundered, but only if they followed her conditions. Gwon considers the offer and notes it's smaller than he'd anticipated. Schmidt speculates that it might be the most she can afford to move right now, given that she hasn't yet secured her position as Ilwon's majority shareholder. If she had any other leverage, she likely wouldn't be making the deal at all. Gwon agrees. It's time to close it. When they arrive, the woman presents the agreed amount with a crisp, tense efficiency. She demands the camera immediately, her urgency palpable. Gwon takes his time, commenting on her rush, and while she insists the exchange is too sensitive to delay, he remains composed. She warns him not to try anything underhanded, suggesting that any betrayal now would be tantamount to declaring war on Ilwon, and he hadn't even solidified his succession yet. Gwon listens, somewhere between amused and exasperated. Her words blur the line between concern and threat, but he's unbothered. He still holds the reins. Once he confirms the amount, he hands over the device as promised, but not without a twist. He reveals that plans have shifted. He tells her that he made a separate deal. Lujin had come forward with a better offer, $60 billion. She is stunned, her expression flickering with disbelief. Then he burns it and he calmly explains that the footage was never enough. Even if it had been released, she would have spun it as an accident, surrounded herself with lawyers, and dragged the case through endless court proceedings. The methods of the older generation were too predictable, he says. If true punishment is the goal, then the weapon must be something far more damning. Only when the evidence is indisputable, when escape is no longer possible, will they finally be held accountable for their crimes. Gwon reveals the full picture at last. On the day she lost her position as chairperson, his father had exposed everything of his own accord. Meanwhile, May had continued monitoring the house through bugs and CCTV, though the footage near the stairwell had always been at a difficult angle. Anticipating something, Schmidt had discreetly installed an additional camera with a clearer view just before the old man's death. That new setup captured everything: the movements, the cover-up, and most damning of all, her and her assistant meticulously erasing the evidence. With that in hand, Gwon tells her there's no escaping it now. The footage is solid, undeniable. No spin could transform it into a mere accident. She lashes out, venom in her voice as she moves to strike him, but he catches her hand midair. His expression hardens. The years of silent endurance were over. She hurls insults demanding to be let go, but he holds firm. He reminds her how long he's stood by, quietly absorbing every blow, every humiliation. No one is coming to stop him now, no one to shield her from the consequences. He anticipated her move. He adds, she had tried to pass the murder off as an accident, just as he once had. The reference hits like a thunderclap. She reels as the truth dawns on her. Gwon had indeed orchestrated his brother's death. Her words spit fire as she processes the betrayal, but he no longer flinches. Now holding both her hands, he makes it clear. This isn't about the past abuse. That score had been settled with his brother's fall. What brought them to this moment was her alliance with Lee Jung-won, the attempt to eliminate Raehwa, the one person he couldn't afford to lose. And now, the stakes had shifted. They were finally playing for everything. He goes on to mention the digital watch his brother once wore. He had smashed it, erased the files, ensured she could never access the recordings stored inside. Every snake in the house had been neutralized, he says. As he turns to leave, she throws out reasons, excuses, why she must eliminate him. But he doesn't look back. Her attempts at self-justification fall flat. He tells her it ends here. No one's buying the act anymore. Following the explosive press conference, the footage of Kang Myok cleaning up the aftermath of her crimes was released to the public. Within hours, Ilwon Group became the center of a global scandal. For an entire month, the name was on every tongue. News channels flooded the airwaves with updates on the brutal succession battle, and online forums boiled with opinions and outrage. The inheritance drama and internal corruption dominated headlines, leading shareholders to question the stability of the company. But Gwon moved swiftly. With the funds from his deal with Lujin, he orchestrated the downfall of DS Hotel, crippling Kang Myok's influence. He then signed a significant business agreement with a Chinese conglomerate. The stock, once plummeting, rebounded dramatically. Doubts and dissent began to quiet. Tradition and morality were both on his side. He was the rightful heir to Ilwon. The media, once ravenous for scandal, now turned admiring eyes toward him. His trademark confident smile became a symbol of new leadership. With cameras constantly capturing his every move, even tabloids joined the frenzy, flooding the internet with rumors about his supposed romantic affairs. As he prepares a meal in their kitchen, Raehwa shares what she has seen online. News anchors, actresses, and influencers all supposedly linked to him. She lists the names with a hint of amusement and disbelief. He shrugs it off, telling her not to take such things seriously. But she points out how absurd it is that the world believes he belongs to someone else, when he's clearly hers. He laughs, teasing her about her jealousy. She insists it's not that, just annoyance at the overreach of the press. Still amused, he calls her out for being overly jealous and jokingly concludes that the only way to end the rumors is to announce their wedding once the succession is finalized. As he feeds her a bite, he suggests checking out wedding venues later that day, but Raehwa mentions she already has plans to meet with May. Gwon playfully notes how often she's been spending time with May lately, then pretends to sulk, asking if she likes her more than her own husband. Raehwa replies that May will be leaving soon, and besides, they have something important to do. Raehwa meets May, and the air between them feels thick with anticipation. May tells her everything is ready. She pauses for a moment, looking at Raehwa with a mixture of concern and curiosity, asking if she's really sure about going through with it. Once the video is out, it will define her in the eyes of the world. But Raehwa remains calm. She knows that this video won't be her end. It will simply be part of her journey. From this point forward, she will be remembered for her paintings, not the pain she's endured. She's ready to take control of her narrative. May smiles, clearly impressed by her strength, and without another word, she releases the video. The footage May has captured is not just a revelation. It's a reflection of everything Raehwa has been through. The video covers her time at Daesan Group, the reasons behind her becoming Ryu Seolyeon's proxy artist, the horrors the chairman subjected her to, and everything that followed. Despite it all, she survived, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. The video becomes her message, not only to the public and the chairman in prison, but to Ryu Seolyeon in heaven, and most importantly, to herself. It's a declaration of strength. May looks at her one last time, wishing her good luck with all her heart. She tells Raehwa she's rooting for her, and then the video begins to spread across the world. The secrets of Daesan are exposed for everyone to see. The funeral for Gwon's father is a spectacle. A packed room filled with people who never showed him any kindness during his lifetime, now gathered to pay their respects. Whispers fill the air about Gwon's arrival and about Lee Raehwa sitting next to him, her reputation as a genius painter on full display. It's a miserable event, lacking any genuine mourning from the family. His stepmother, unable to cope with the consequences of her actions, pleads insanity and checks herself into a psychiatric hospital. After the ceremony, Gwon remarks that it would have taken the old man another 10 years to die, but all the bad decisions he made finally caught up with him. With a cold look, he adds that he hopes they don't meet again in the next life. Raehwa comments on the large number of reporters at the funeral, noting the dating rumors swirling around them. Gwon chuckles, suggesting he won't have to deal with her jealousy anymore, but she quickly denies it. Gwon tells her he has something to show her, and with a smile, he reveals his tattoo, now redesigned. Raehwa is taken aback, and he explains that she'd mentioned the old design had been bugging her, calling it Ilwon's mark of misery. He asks if this new design makes it better. She stares at him, a smile spreading across her face. Without saying a word, they kiss, a moment of quiet happiness between them. In that kiss, Raehwa feels a shift. Maybe, just maybe, Gwon is finally learning how to be happy with her. Raehwa enjoys the last moments with May, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and nostalgia. As their time together draws to a close, she acknowledges how much she will miss living in Korea with her, the bond they've shared, and the sense of belonging she felt. Raehwa assures May that she will always be welcome to visit and that she'll be waiting for her return. Before parting, May offers to answer any questions Raehwa might have, and she takes the opportunity to ask about Gwon, particularly about his past in the desert. May, with a mix of amusement and sadness, talks about Gwon in a way that resonates with Raehwa's earlier perceptions. He's as cold, lonely, and dangerous as she'd imagined, but May also hints at the complexities of his character, the parts that might never be fully understood. For a brief moment, Raehwa feels that they could have been best friends if their lives had unfolded differently. The connection with she feels genuine, and she admits that she will miss her deeply once she leaves. Later, as they walk through a busy street under the bright sun, the familiar faces of people who recognize Raehwa appear. They offer compliments and try to capture photos, the buzz of excitement surrounding her. Schmidt and Choi quickly step in, ready to protect her from the sudden attention. However, Raehwa, smiling softly, reassures them that there's no need for protection anymore. She expresses her gratitude for their watchful care all this time. May, with a playful tone, suggests they meet up again if she ever returns. Raehwa agrees, her smile wide and sincere, before Choi jokingly asks if he can tag along. Raehwa laughs and nods, promising that they'll all hang out when they return. Schmidt, too, expresses his thanks and tells her he'll be back for the exhibition, to which she assures him she'll send him a ticket. As they prepare to leave, Gwon, standing nearby, calls out that it's time to go. There's a quiet sadness in Raehwa's heart, the weight of the goodbye settling in. But Gwon, sensing her unease, assures her that she won't be lonely with him around. Raehwa, with a playful glint in her eyes, teases him about his clinginess. But Gwon, never missing a chance to flirt back, reminds her of her own possessive nature. They share a light moment of teasing, both aware of the deep connection that binds them together. As they walk away, Raehwa feels the warmth of their relationship and the promise of the future ahead, even as the bittersweet feeling of parting lingers in the air. In the dress house, quiet anticipation fills the air as the staff inform Gwon that the bride is ready. As Raehwa steps out, his gaze lingers on her, silent and intense. She looks at him, waiting, then gently asks how she looks. He tells her she's beautiful, assuring her that she'd look stunning in anything. But she catches the subtle restraint in his reaction and questions whether she should try a different dress. He softly repeats that she looks amazing. One of the attendants chimes in, pointing out that the groom clearly likes the dress. Encouraged by the comment, Raehwa smiles and thanks the woman for the reassurance, then politely asks for a moment alone with Gwon. Left together in the quiet room, Raehwa turns to him with sincerity in her eyes. She reflects on how he entered her life like a miracle, how he recognized her, found her again, waited patiently, and eventually came to save her. With emotion swelling in her voice, she thanks him for finding his way back to her. She promises to remain by his side, determined to protect this miracle they've built together. Her vow is simple but unshakable. She will always love him, just as he has always come for her. At that moment, there's nothing more to say. The journey that began in pain and uncertainty has led them here. Together, grounded in love, and ready for what lies ahead. And with that, this beautiful manhwa comes to an end. Did you enjoy it? Then please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more. Until next time, ciao!